Hello. Oh, that was totally my fault when I cut out for a minute there. I just sat down at my desk and I don't even know what I had. I just braced myself with hands on the keyboard. Not smart. So welcome back to Watts the Obsession on this Saturday night, Watts weekend date night. And I don't know if you're anywhere near where I live. I hope you are staying warm because we are still in a super deep freeze. Always have to give you that weather update. And whatever part of the world you are in, I hope that you are doing awesome. And thank you so very much for being here. I appreciate your time and your support of the channel and you being here and taking interest in this case style and justice for these victims and the details of this case, which have been discussed, widely across the world for the past 6 years and are still being discussed because, as I'm sure many, if not all of you know, there are things that just do not smell right. And here at Watts the Obsession, we always have our sniffers out. And I have a banner scrolling across the bottom of the screen now saying, all information presented is from the discovery or the vetted and verified result, I'm just waiting for it to go by, of the team's extensive research. Whether or not the information is a matter of public record is irrelevant in regards to what I'm stating here. Our accuracy is proven. So if something is an opinion or speculation, we will say so. I will say so. And if we have somebody on panel, we will do our best to make sure that is said. We here are committed to the facts and we are committed to, and I mean every single fact. Now, as I'm saying that, I want to let you know I'm going to be talking about a few videos that have recently, or maybe not so recently, I think they're all recent, come out about this case. Some from excellent creators of channels that I personally love and creators that I very much admire. But, I guess when it comes to this case, when there is a little bit of inaccuracy given out as information, I'm like, ding, 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 my radar goes up and I pick up on it. And I don't mean to be nitpicky, but I think, no, it's not just that I think these details that sometimes seem insignificant until they're put in the proper context are important, and the accuracy of all information that is put out there, discussed about this case, particularly in the pursuit of complete justice for the victims, is absolutely critical. So, I know that some of the things I'm saying, I know I'm going to get comments saying that I'm nitpicky, and I know that I certainly am not perfect, and I do not claim to be, but that's just something we're going to bring out. So I just want to put that out there and say that ahead of time. And Sherry, you are so kind. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. I very much appreciate you, girl. And thank you for being such a good friend and for everything. I've been having a little bit of a tough time recently. I talked to Sherry earlier and she was a great listener and I so much appreciate you. Thank you so very much. And Honey Bun and Sweet Melissa, thank you for gifting memberships in when you were waiting for this to start. That's so awesome of you. And it was Jessica and Deidre. I don't remember the last names. I'm sorry. Jessica C. and Deidre who received those memberships. So please thank Sweet Melissa and Honey Bun. And thank you so much. Honey Bun has been working on logos and other things for merch and just for the channel in general. I'm going to try to, is it okay with you, Honey Bun, if I share the one that you sent me today? She sent one that she's really excited about. I think it's awesome too. So we want to get your opinion. And yes, we are going to be talking about Jim today. We are not going to be leaving Jim alone. And there is this very specific reason why we're going to be talking about him tonight. I don't like to, talk about Jim. Somebody whose potential guilt in this case is certainly at this time not proven. It is assumed by some, but it is definitely not proven. And this is one of the nitpicky things that I'm going to be hitting on tonight of, having to do with the video that it was Behind Criminal Minds that he just put out. He put out a couple Watts videos. I found the channel because you guys guided me there. I think it's a good channel. I did notice in these couple videos, there were some details that I did want to take issue to. And I am going to point out, with that being said, I do want to say that I think the creator is very good at what he does. I think he has an excellent channel. It's a huge channel. It's more successful than my channel. I don't know how long he's been doing his channel, but when you're looking at the numbers, I'm definitely not dissing him. So I hope that he does not take it that way or that nobody else takes it that way. But again, I just have to reiterate the importance of accuracy, of facts, of evidence, and, staying committed to that all the time, no matter how trivial it may seem in the moment or not, is this channel's commitment, and it will remain that way. It's Deidre Gay. Yeah. So you received a membership from Sweet Melissa, I think it was. So hello to everybody who's here. I'm not going to go through and say hello to everybody individually because I do want to just get into this and not leave Jim alone. Let me just get down to the bottom of chat. Let's see. Chris, hi, Chris. How are you doing? Chris Chian says, Gloria, I'm pretty sure Kessinger married Jim the following year. I had heard that, but again, well, not again, but I will say that is one of those things that certainly when I heard about it, I looked into it to the greatest degree I possibly could. And I think between myself and the team of people that have helped to research this case, I do most of the research myself because that's just how I am. But there are certainly other people that have contributed and have made significant contributions to this channel, and particularly people who have been on the legal team over the years. I definitely have them to thank for that. We looked into it to the degree where I don't know if anybody could have put that information out there basing it on fact. And that's not on you, Chris. I'm just saying, but you never know. Okay. But I just will say that. I just happened to, your comment just hit my eyes. Hey, John McSmith, I hope you're doing well and that you're feeling good, and that you're in good health today. And it's always such a pleasure to see you. John McSmith is an OG of the channel, and it's great to see him. Okay, so how are we going to start with this? I'm going to be bringing some things into the stream as I usually do, because I always plan the live streams ahead of time so we can have the most, efficient, effective transmission of information about this case with as much evidence to back the facts that some people know and some people doubt is possible. Oh gosh, the humidity. Yes, some of our friends, we have a lot of moderators who are Australian and a lot of viewers of this channel who are from Australia as well. And so your weather over there is much different, right, than ours right now, of course, like complete opposite. Okay, so let me bring this into the stream. And again, Sherry, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate the heck out of you. Sherry is like one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. She's wonderful. Oh, I'm sorry. And her screen name right now is Autism Mom of Two. She has two children who are adults. Her 23 and 25, right, Sherry, who have autism, and she takes such amazing care of them. As a lot of you know, I'm a behavioral therapist now, but I was a special educator for many years, and she couldn't possibly be doing a better job. And Deidre, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm trying to do two things at once. I will pin it in just 1 second. All right. So we're going to be, to start, we're going to be looking at what, out of Nichol Kessinger's own mouth, in her own words, there's nothing to prove here other than the fact that I was able to find the transcript manuscript of the redacted portion of 2 of the phone interviews that Nichol Kessinger strangely had with Kevin Kobach from CBI, and put them out there for you, much to YouTube's discontent. They've tried to take both of them down several times, but these ones are tight. Good luck trying to, well, I shouldn't challenge them in that way. But yeah, okay. So you just have to believe me on that, but I promise you it's accurate. Yeah, so we're just going to listen to her own words in regards to what she knows about CERVI 319 and what happened there, what she might have to do with it, what she does have to do with it, that horrible early morning of August 13th, 2018. We also are going to be reading an excerpt of Dylan Tellman's book. He put a book out. He put it out smartly, I think, from a marketing standpoint, in 3 parts. It's on Amazon Kindle. If any of my moderators want a copy, I'll send you a copy. I can't offer that to everybody because I do want him to have the opportunity to, profit off of it. That's what he put it out there for. He's promising a part 4 very soon that is supposed to bring all of the drama. And we're just going to look at a number of things, but I guess let's get into it.
Welcome back to Watts the Obsession. In a phone interview with Kevin Kobach, Chris Watts' mistress talks about the last 2 weekends in July that she spent with him, the weekend of July 21st and July 28th. This is when Chris Watts and his mistress went to the Bandimere Speedway, and then the next weekend, they spent the weekend together at the sand dunes. Here, Kevin Kobach asks NK about her photos on her phone, and asks if one of the photos that he feels obviously is not Chris Watts, who is that, he says. And she answers, it's her friend Jim. Listen carefully.
Well, you know what? My God, I'm so sorry. I started playing the wrong video. So I have to pop something in first, or this isn't going to make the sense that I need it to, okay? So, and could everybody do me a huge favor, please, and just hit that like so more people get the notifications for this live stream. I didn't have a chance to send out an email. I almost always do that. And if you do not get the notifications for this channel and you would like to get them, please email me at whatsobsession@gmail.com. Put in the subject, add me to the email list or something like that so it catches my eye. Put it in caps. I get a lot of junk and marketing offers and things in that mailbox right now, and all haters of the channel. But I want to hear from you guys, and I will add it to you right away, okay? I will add you to it. I think I mixed my words up there. You know what I mean. You know what I mean, but please hit the like. There we go. This is what I wanted. Sorry, guys. But we are going to get into that video. Just got to play it in the right order, darn it. All right.
They're talking about. I'm not saying that to be a jerk because I totally get it. Nichol.
I don't know what I'm talking about there. Let me try all the way back to the beginning. Okay, there we go.
I've seen girls smile at me before. Never done anything about it with her. It was just like she had a leash on me and she tugged me away. And as soon as she walked, I'm like, the heck hell is going on? So
Welcome back to Watts, The Obsession. Have
No
you
doubt,
noticed
Sabrosa.
that when creators or people in chat are referring to content from Nichol Kessinger's interviews, from one of her interviews, they often do so in not well-defined terms, like, oh, yes, Miss Kessinger said blah, 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 blah. On the first, the second, the third, the interview, the phone, the in-person interview on August the 17th, the 21st, 15th. And it sounds like people don't really know what they're talking about. I'm not saying that to be a jerk because I totally get it. Nichol Kessinger's interviews and their content and the method and means by which you can hear them, watch them, or read them, it's just not clear. We all know that it took plunder, a lot of time, commitment, and probably some dollar bills to convince the powers that be to release the video footage of Nichol Kessinger's interview with CBI Kevin Kobach from August 16th, 2018. So let me set the record straight regarding Nichol Kessinger's interviews with CBI's Kevin Kobach. There were 3 in-person interviews and 2 phone interviews. The first in-person interview was on August 15th, 2018. The second in-person interview was on August 16th, 2018. The final interview of the 5 was an in-person interview, and that took place on August 23rd, 2018. That's the one when she went to return her phone and she ended up just sitting down, pulling up a chair, getting a cup of coffee or whatever, and talking to Kevin Kobach for a few.
Damn, guys. I'm so sorry. I really need to pay attention to what I'm doing here. Sorry about that. Let me just bring that right in. Trying to read your comments, respond to your comments, and not click the wrong thing. And I'm not doing a great job of that. Here we go.
Hours. There were also 2 phone interviews. Those took place on August 17th and August 21st, respectively, in the year 2018. Both of those phone interviews are redacted and or also known as missing chunks of their content. And I'm going to fill that missing information in for you guys. The previous uploaded video interview that corresponds with the previous live stream, I went over the August 17th phone interview between Kevin Kobach and Nichol Kessinger. I played for you the part that was recorded on audio, and then I read for you the transcript after the audio mysteriously cut off. So in this video, we're going to do the same thing for the interview that occurred over the phone between Kevin Kobach and Nichol Kessinger on August 21st, 2018. Now, this interview in particular gets really dicey because Nichol Kessinger goes into details about her communication with Chris Watts during the day on Monday, August 13th, 2018, which is the day that we know, of course, the tragedy happened when Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Nico lost their lives in this mortal world. Rest in peace, sweet angels. We will continue
Yeah,
to
was
fight
it
for
fun?
justice for you.
Oops.
Bella kind of did. She didn't like it too much.
You didn't like it.
No.
It's fun playing in puddles.
So let's get right
I know,
into the
Cece was having a
interview
ball in it,
and
right,
see what
Cece?
surprises
Mm-hmm.
Nichol Kessinger has for us today.
You want to go back?
Okay, so before we get into what she had to say about CERVI 319 on Monday morning, because she did talk about it. But it's hidden in this redacted part of this August 24th phone interview, which really I don't think ever should have happened. There was some controversy about the way that Kevin Kobach conducted these interviews and didn't take proper notes on them. And we can talk about that another time. But anyway, but before we get into that, I do want to read you an excerpt from, and hey, Susan Peterson, how are you doing? Welcome. From Dylan Tallman's book. Okay, so I'm going to bring that into the stream instead. Let's see. I don't know. How do I shut this side down so you can see it better? I don't know. I'm looking at Amazon Kindle. It's kind of funky and really no. Hide notebook. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it. All right. So let me flip this into the stream. Now, Dylan Tallman was doing some hard time, and in the book, he talks himself about, spending a good portion of his life in jail. I think he says the majority. So, we do need to consider the source. Certainly because he's been in prison does not mean that he cannot be an honest person. And I am going to say that of all of the books and information that has come out by so-called inside sources, meaning other people that were around Chris Watts having to do with the jail, whether they work there, like there was that Chrissy woman who I honestly think is a total fraud. I looked into her credentials. She claims to be a psychologist. She is not. And then there were other, people that did time with him and some other people that are related in other ways. My opinion is, and it is my opinion because, and this is what I'm going to present in this video, the facts that support it. I find Dylan Tallman's account to ring far more true than anyone else's. And this includes, yes, Sherilyn Cadle in her books, Letters from Christopher, that we, yes, have discussed on this channel. So let me just make sure that's in there for you. It is. Now I shall read. So this is in the middle of the book. Each part is only 31 pages, just so you know. Kindle download is $7.99. And again, if any of my moderators want a copy, email me and I'll send you copies so you can have those, okay? So now this is now Dylan. They're talking about Bible stuff, right? Because they're Bible thumpers. They're prison Bible thumpers. So now Dylan says, I love the entry you wrote. However, I noticed a part about Jezebel. She incited the king to do evil. I feel like this one is personal, I pointed out. It also hit home with me as I too have been incited by women to do evil in sight of the Lord. In the sight of Lord. Okay. Of the Lord. Okay. Just learn how to read, Cal. Okay, I'm trying. Quote, there is a proverb that describes her. Look up 7:21:23, Chris directed me. It was getting muggy in my cell and I was wishing I had a fan to cool off. I obliged and looked up those proverbs. And I will put a link to this on Amazon in the description. I haven't yet, but I will. With her many persuasions, she enticed him. With her flattering lips, she seduced him. With her brown bikini, I'm just kidding. Suddenly, he follows her as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as one in fetters to the discipline of a fool, until an arrow pierces through his liver. As a bird hastens to snare, so does he not know that it will cost him his life. This was one of the many scriptures he used to describe this woman, who is Jezebel, who is Nichol Kessinger. This is about your Jezebel, I shouted, a little too loudly for my own taste. She was the death of me. However, I have been born again, and God put me here for his own plans, he said. Yes, Chris, so you can rot in jail, then hell. You're right, Chris, yes. Why wouldn't he want you? Why would he want you in this foul place? I couldn't help but question him. The first Christians lived under heavy persecution. Look at Paul. He wrote his best work from prison. He was in prison 7 times for the gospel, Chris explained. We're not being persecuted. We are being prosecuted, and not for the gospel. We are, at best, the criminals on the cross next to Jesus, I replied. Good conclusion, Dylan, causing him to go silent for a moment. They're talking through what they call their jailhouse telephone, which is just the electrical outlet in the cell. Well, Jesus came for individuals as ourselves. The first disciples were tax collectors, a murderer, and a prostitute. They were all sinners. He didn't come to call the righteous. He came to call sinners to repentance, he conveyed. I understood that perhaps more than anyone. However, I don't think God intended for him to kill his pregnant wife and children. It didn't sound like he intended to either. I didn't hear drug dealer on your list of saints, I pointed out to him jokingly. Oh, yeah, you're on the top of that list. That's what Dylan's in for, he said. So where are you on that list? I asked Chris. I could have probably heard a pin drop from how silent it became at the moment. I thought he had vacated the conversation with a delay in his next response. I would be considered as the likes of Barabbas, Chris admitted. Barabbas was the murderer that was held before the crowd with Jesus and Pilate, offering to release him or Jesus. No, knock it off. Barabbas was a murderer, dude. You are not. You didn't mean to kill your wife, I said, not even thinking of his children. I was closing my eye to the facts. I didn't want to know anymore. I love Chris like a brother. And I didn't want to look at him the way everyone else did. He was such a great guy. He was too humble, too down to earth. He cared about others. There wasn't a criminal bone in his body. This is what drew me to him and formed our friendship. He was different from what I was used to. You deserve to know. You're my spiritual twin, he said. I was sure if I wasn't sure if I was sure if I actually wanted to know, but I think that's a typo. I think it should say I wasn't sure. Some people say that you are the company you keep. If this is true, did we click because we're both evil spirits? No, that was nonsense. Get it off your chest, brother, I said, allowing him to tell me more of his story. Then Chris is speaking now. Nichol kept saying not to go to the police. Not yet, and to lay low. She told me she would marry me. We would sell the house and everything and move. I told her that my older daughter saw enough to incriminate us, or incriminate me. I told her that my wife's body was still in the house. She held me tight, told me not to worry. She said she would send somebody to get it and bring it to work like nothing happened. She held me and told me that it would be just the two of us. She kissed me and made me feel like I couldn't lose her. I would do anything for her. He stopped, took a deep breath, and exhaled. I thought I knew where this was going. I really didn't want to know. I also knew the power of love and deception. It's all right, bro. The Lord forgives anyone of any sin. You know that, I reassured him. This is what I meant when I told you that she made me choose between my family or her. The girls were what was left of my family. I chose her. So again, Chris says here, according to Dylan Tallman, in the context of them being in prison together, talking through their telephone or an electrical outlet between their cells, Dylan Tallman says, Chris says, this is what I meant when I told you that she being the mistress, Nichol Kessinger, made me choose between my family or her. The girls, what was left of my family. I chose her, he confessed. The wiles of love make people do some of the worst things. So, who killed the girls? I asked the question of questions. I told you that it wasn't my hand doing it. I can't remember a lot. It was like I was possessed. You know how Jezebel ordered King Ahab to kill Naboth for his vineyard? Chris asked me. I'm very familiar with 1 Kings, I replied. I knew it. She convinced him to kill his daughters. I saw myself doing it, but it's like it wasn't me. Though I was numb and on autopilot, I couldn't hurt them. So I just stopped them both from breathing. Now, this is very interesting for a psychological behavioral perspective, but we can discuss it if you want. So again, he says, I saw myself doing it, but it's like it wasn't me. Though I was numb and on autopilot, I couldn't hurt them. So I just stopped them both from breathing, Chris managed to say. I couldn't imagine being in such a position and doing such a thing. He had just called me his spiritual twin, and I wasn't sure that I was. Then I remembered the words of Jesus, where he says to forgive those of their transgressions. I wasn't the one Chris needed to ask for forgiveness. He needed to ask God. I kept it, Matthew 7:1-2, with him, and I didn't judge. I stayed on my neutral ground on this case. She helped you with your wife's body? I questioned. I really don't want to take anyone down with me. I did it. She captivated me with her smooth words, dripping honey and Proverbs 5:3-5. She sold me a dream and bought me a nightmare. She only helped with the order for me to kill like King Ahab. So again, he says, she only helped with the order for me to kill like King Ahab. As far as hiding them, she helped me, he admitted to me. You need to start guarding your heart because that is way overboard. What did she do when you got arrested? I asked Chris. That's good advice from Dylan. She pretended to be clueless, he said with a sigh. Where is she now? She don't give a fuck about you. As soon as you got caught up, she bailed. On to the next dick. Where is she right now? I pushed for an answer. Nobody's heard from her or of her, he said flatly. She is in hiding in case she ends up incriminated in this mess, I informed him. All he managed to say was, yeah. So what are we going to do? I asked. We are going to get our book, God's Plan, published, and then people will find the truth within the truth. Then the job is done, Chris assured me with confidence. I can't remember if I want to read anything from the epilogue. Let me just scan it real quick. Yeah, I think this. Well, he just talks about his part 4 of the book here. Let me just read this one paragraph. It's apparently forthcoming. I hope readers will continue to see Chris in a different light. Through the struggles, Chris and I clicked up and were very productive. Our mission was to release our God's Plan series until he suddenly changed his mind. He changed his mind because he told the story of his case through scripture. Chris gave 2 messages, first being the gospel of Jesus Christ, the second being the facts of his case. I bring the story behind all of this. Oh, sorry, I missed the part I want to read, I think. Okay, so he says, sorry. I've decided to end part 3 where it did because the story will go on. The next book will have all the drama, the betrayal, and the lies, the secrets, media storm, my second imprisonment with Chris. So this all happened, this conversation that he apparently records through these 3 books in his first, stint of prison time with Chris. But he gets out of prison and then he's imprisoned with him again. And apparently there's more conversation and more to reveal. And he says, last but not least, the complications with the book we wrote. The real will be separated from the fake. There will also be a few more facts about the case. Okay, so that's what Dylan Tallman has to say about what Chris Watts apparently told him while they were together in prison during Dylan Tallman's first prison stint. There's still a second one to come that he hasn't spoken about yet in these books with Chris. So in summary, he says that Chris did away with his wife, Shanann, that he told Nichol Kessinger about it, that she was happy, that she held him and kissed him and reassured him everything was going to be okay, that they would sell that house, that they would be married and everything would be fine. To not, when he said that Shanann was still in the house, her body, her remains, she said, don't worry about it. I'm going to get somebody to take care of it and bring her to work, whatever that means. But maybe we know what that means. And then he disclosed to Kessinger that Bella saw enough to incriminate them, or at least him, leaving it pretty ambiguous there. And that is what Dylan claims Chris means by when he said she made me choose between me and my family. At that point, my only family remaining was Bella and Celeste, and I chose her. He, according to Dylan, says, outright that she made the plans about CERVI 319, and she actually helped him in the aftermath. Okay. So now, I don't know if you believe Dylan Tallman or not. Actually, you know what? Let me put up never mind. So I have to open a new page. I'll do it in a minute. I want to put up a poll about that, if you believe him or not. So now let's take a look. And again, I told you, in my opinion, his account of things rings more true than anybody else who has reported accounts from Chris Watts due to their interactions with him for whatever reason while he's been in prison. And I'm going to try to share with you everything I can think of as to why that is. And they are all facts that are not in contention about the case. Imagine 916 welcome says, I believe Dylan. Yeah, if you guys want to leave a comment, I would love to know what you think about what Dylan had to say. Do you believe him? Okay. So Exit Screaming says, in my opinion, the girls were obviously innocent victims. What led to this, though? I know where you're going. I do. I get it. And I think what you're saying, there's validity to it. Okay. As I told you in my comment to you earlier, this just needs to be handled correctly and with respectfully. After I go through, kind of the evidence, because it does also connect into video excerpts I'm going to play from Behind Criminal Minds, because he says something about this that I take great issue with. And Exit Screaming, I'm pretty sure you'd agree with me. I'll get to it then. Okay. So it's going to be in the second half of the live stream. Okay. Was Dylan the Vaseline buddy? No, I think that was, oh God, what's the other guy's name? He's been on here before. Well, I don't have him on as a guest because I think people exploit him by keep dragging him back into YouTube because he has some mental, he needs some love and care not to be on YouTube. I can't think of his name right now. You guys know it though. Tell me what it is. Just can't think of it right now, but I think that was his other prison buddy. Okay. So now, and this is all going to connect to, as I told you, we're not going to be leaving Jim alone. And this does connect Jim in. Stay with me. I'm going to bring it all together. Now, this is when we're going to bring in a short excerpt from Behind Criminal Minds. He just put out 2 videos having to do with the Watts case. They are not my favorite. I think he did great work on the investigation he did into Rourke's failure to properly prosecute this case and others. Those videos, in my opinion, if you want accuracy and facts and great research, become highly recommended. Published by the channel Behind Criminal Minds. And again, these 2 were not my favorite for a couple reasons. I'm going to point a couple of them out. I don't think they're terrible, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. Whoops. I don't want you to see me with all my glasses on, crap. I'm like, not showered, hair not brushed, glasses on. No. Okay, there. I see. I just keep clicking buttons accidentally. I think people can look okay when they're not trying to look good for a camera, but I'm just not into it right now. I've also been crying today because just for personal reasons. All right. So let me bring that to the stream. Hi, Keschik. No problem. Thank you for everything you do. So what do you guys think about Dylan Tallman? What do you think about what he said? I really want to know what you think. Come on, use those little fingers of yours. Hi, Shiny Star. How are you doing? Hey, Victoria. Okay. Okay, so again, this is Behind Criminal Minds. It's a video called Chris Watts, New Evidence Reveals Nichol Kessinger's Involvement, Deep Dive Series.
With both of his children still alive in the back seat. It's now 6:16 a.m. and Nichol makes a call to her close friend Jim. 3 days later, during Nichole's
Another thing I just want to say is, and I have cited his videos as resources I've used before.
What's the difference between a service?
Things are going crazy here. I don't know, I'm getting videos again. I have all kinds of weird stuff going on. Let me just mute that. Cited his videos before as things I've used as sources I've used and reference. I try to always do that. I don't always do it with perfecting. Please let me know something that just anyway. Oops. But I do feel, I'm going to say, and I don't know this for a fact, I feel that some of his content highly relies upon the channel Footsteps of Murder, which I think is really like underrated. Why is that? As far as a contribution she's made to the discussion in this case. And so I just would like to say that. And why is this whole side thing on here? This pisses me off. Sorry, I have a little breakdown here. I don't want this tube buddy thing here, and it won't go away ever. It's a service that I got a free trial for at one time, and it has some like good features to it. It helps you to come up with titles and things like that. But I don't want it anymore, and they won't let me like break up with it. I hate that crap. Okay, here we go. Once it became like $200 a month, I was like, I don't know. I can probably come up with my own titles, you know.
cam footage time that Chris had ever parked his work truck directly in front of his garage. It quickly became evident to law enforcement that Chris clearly intended to obscure anyone from seeing what he was loading into the back of his work truck that morning. Over the next 18 minutes, Chris can be seen loading and unloading various items into the back of his truck, including, tragically, his own family. And just after 5:45, Chris Watts leaves his driveway en route to CERVI 319 with both of his children still alive in the back seat. It's now 6:16 a.m. and Nichol Kessinger makes a call to her close friend Jim. 3 days later, during Nichole's first in-office interview, Detective Kobach would ask her if she was willing to verify her whereabouts for the afternoon of the 13th of August. Nichol.
All right, now chat. Okay, I need you to get over the brown bikini for a minute and pay attention to this because this is important stuff here. This is.
would acknowledge that upon arriving home that day, her friend Jim was already present at her apartment, which meant that he could confirm her arrival. However, when pressed to confirm her alibi, this is how Nichol Kessinger responded.
From an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45, done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin. Or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to give it to you.
Just leave Jim
But
alone.
if
Jim does
at
not need
some
to be wrapped
point-
up in this.
If at some point I needed Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records, would you
You
tell me
can
who
have
Jim
them.
was?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was if I
If
couldn't
you
get him?
had to. I don't really want to
Correct.
involve him in this, so it's not
Perfect.
fair to him. That's not, no, if I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
Nichole's friend Jim is just one of many rabbit holes throughout the vastness of Watts Island. But during one of Nichole's final interviews with Detective Kobach, he mentioned that she had pictures on her phone of a heavier set man who was with her at the same time she and Chris were at the sand dunes.
Now, okay, hold it.
If you have an hour this week,
Jesus.
you can learn 100 songs on the
This one
piano
looked
by
at
learning just
my premium. I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't normally get ads.
four
Now,
chords. These.
Now, yeah, right here is what something that he says here that I take issue with. And again, I think that this fact matters. So again, let's listen to what this creator says. The creator of the channel behind Criminal Minds, who's done a lot of great work, but in this particular video, I just take some issue with some things. And a lot of creators say this, and it's just not true. And I'm going to show you in a minute. You're going to hear that it's not true. So listen. And I rely on him to be factual because he usually is really good about that. But I don't know.
Who Jim was if I
If
couldn't
you
get him.
had to. I don't really want to
Correct.
involve him in this, so it's not
Perfect.
fair to him. That's not, no. if I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
Nicole's friend Jim is just one of many rabbit holes throughout the vastness of Watts Island. But during one of Nicole's final interviews with Detective Kobach, he mentioned that she had pictures on her phone.
And by the way, it wasn't this interview. I don't know if he's meaning to say that. It was a phone interview, but okay.
Of a heavier set man.
And it wasn't one of his last interviews. It was the interview on the 17th, and there were 5 interviews, so it was one smack in the middle.
Who was with her at the same time she and Chris were at the sand dunes. Nicole then...
Okay, so is the heavier set guy with you at the same time they were at the sand dunes? That is not at all how it went down.
Confirms that the picture was of her friend Jim. And this confirmation would mean that Chris knew exactly who Jim was.
Okay, so then the problem is his conclusion that he's making on inaccuracy. And this has to do with what we're talking about. I'm just not nitpicking on this for the sake of nitpicking on this, but this is really what was said in the second interview that Kessinger did with Kobach, which was her 3rd interview out of 5 in total. I'm going to play it for you so you can hear it yourself. I think if you're going to make those kind of statements, you just really have to be careful on it. And those channels that you're usually good about that, and we rely upon to be accurate, please continue to do the work to stay that accurate.
I want you to tell me in the comments below if you think this interview clip indicates that Jim was with Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't. But here, let me move forward a little bit. Okay.
Her going to the sand.
Lined up, I would base it off of this date and work your way backwards. But like this weekend, I went to Bandimere Speedway with him, and I went and saw. I think it was called the Mopar Mile High Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been called Thunder on the Mountain. I don't know. It was the drag races though, and it was Saturday the 21st.
Okay.
And we were there like the majority of the day. I think we got there like early afternoon, and we were there till it ended pretty much.
Was that late in the evening?
Yeah, those things go pretty late. Like it gets dark.
Okay.
Yeah, and we hung out there probably for a while. I think we were there for a little while. We ate there. So that's where we got.
So you ate lunch there?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Tacos.
Okay.
This is a really good bar, by the way. Yeah, so we did that, and then we went to Bandimere, and then I don't know what we did after Bandimere. I think we just went to his house. I'm almost positive. Like, I don't think we did anything after that because it was pretty late.
Okay.
And then on the weekend of July 28th through the 29th, we went to the sand dunes. We went to the Great Sand Dunes National Park.
Down in Alamosa?
Okay, you need to listen carefully. She says, on the weekend of the 29th, we went to the Great Sand Dunes National Park. Now, let me just bring into you the context of this timing. It was on the 29th, they went to the Great Sand Dunes National Park. That was the 29th of July. It was on the last day of July. Does July have 30 or 31 days? The last day of July. So the day right after they returned, that Chris left to go to North Carolina, where we know that Shanann and his girls were visiting their family. They'd been there for 5 weeks. He was going to visit them for a week. So this timing is important. It was right off of that weekend at the sand dunes with Nichol Kessinger that he basically turned right around, got in that plane, and went out to North Carolina, right? That's important. So she just references going to the sand dunes here. Now, Kobach is going to ask her about this guy he sees in the pictures. Is that Jim? You'll hear what she says. After that, he says, I didn't find any pictures of the sand dunes at all in your phone. So I just want to get the facts straight on this, and then we're going to talk about why this is all important, but please listen carefully.
July 28th, 29th. Did you guys stay anywhere?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Where did you stay?
Oh, we camped.
Okay.
We camped. I don't remember the name of the campsite, but if you like just let me go through probably like my old phone Navel or like go through just the internet and try to look up campsites, I can probably come up with a name for you.
Let me ask you this. There was some attachments that when I was looking at some of your phone stuff that
Okay, so she happens to be talking about, oh, we went camping. I don't know where the site is, blah, 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 blah. He's typing. He's kind of like half listening to her, half not, which is part of the problem with Kevin Kobach in general. And he says, let me ask you, as I was going through your photos, I saw this picture of this guy.
today, although very limited, there's a man with a backpack. He's got a beard. He does not look like Chris to me in your photos. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, is he like a little heavier set?
Yeah, I'd say he's a little bit bigger.
Yes, that is my friend Jim. That is the one that I was with on the Monday and Tuesday of last week.
Okay, so there is some photographs. You mentioned the museum.
Okay, so yes, she confirms that photograph that you are very specifically asking about, some guy that was in the role of your photos that doesn't look like Chris, it's heavier set, he's got a beard. Yes, that is Jim. Okay, now the conversation moves on.
Car museum. I think I remember seeing a couple photos of cars, and it didn't strike me as anything then. So there may be a little bit more on your phone than what I think. But there is definitely no photos of Chris. And I don't remember seeing any pictures of the sand dunes.
Okay, so he says, there's no photos of Chris, and I don't remember seeing any pictures of the sand dunes. So clearly what he is not saying is, while I was looking at your photos, in the middle of the pictures of the sand dunes, I saw this guy, Jim, and describe him. Yes, that's Jim. Oh, okay, that means that places him at the sand dunes. Dude just says flat out, I did not see any pictures of the sand dunes. So all Watts creators out there who might be listening to this, okay, there we go. Let's just call that a fact now. Let's straighten it out.
But so did you camp inside the national park there?
No, it was outside. I think we camped at Zapata Falls. I think that's the name of the campsite.
Yep, Zapata Falls.
Zapata Falls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's before
Zapata.
you come to you turn off 160 and you're going towards the sand dunes, and then you turn off and kind of go up a 4-wheel drive road to
Sorry, Kevin Bashnick, I'm sure you've never heard this before because you probably have not been in the elite company to ever hear this, but I can rap Ice Ice Baby like no other. You'd be like, oh my God, holy cow, never knew it. Kelly is a white Lil Kim. Look out. Just needed to say that.
Zapata Falls.
Yeah, that was like really gnarly one with all the switchbacks and
Yep.
the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
There. And so we camped there.
Was it like an established campground, or was it just dry camping?
No, it was an established campground. There's a campground up there. Like you hang that left to go to Zapata Falls Trail, and then you go right, and there's like a big campground boat.
Okay. So that's where you guys were there.
Yep.
All right. Keep going.
And then
Alice in Wonderland, if my channel ever gets to 100,000 subscribers, I will on camera rap to you Ice Ice Baby. It's a promise.
we went to the sand dunes. Not the first day, so we got there fairly late on. How did we do? No, that's right. So I need to think about this. I really need to think about this. Saturday, we got there, we set up camp, and then after we set up camp, we went to the national park.
So you went and hiked the sand dunes?
Yeah, we tried next summer. It was super windy. Oh my God, the sand hurt so bad. It started raining. And we stayed.
Okay, I don't think we need to listen to the rest of her droning on, really. I just really needed to make that point. Michelle Jones, welcome, sweetheart. How are you doing? Says, just got to say, what Dylan writes sounds more in jive with what we've all been suspecting all along. Michelle Jones, I couldn't possibly agree with you more. And I think those of us who have been following this case and have been following the facts in this case, in reckless pursuit of the facts, like we have been, yeah, exactly, because the facts align with what he's been saying. Karaoke. I like that. Let's see. Yeah. Get over 42,000 people here and we can hear me rap. That's right. You never know. Sometimes we have big, spikes in subscribers. Oh, yeah, you're so welcome. I've been called that before, actually. Obviously, jokingly by my friends. Yeah, I know. She just drones on and on. Okay, so now, all right, so now let's bring in the next piece of evidence that we need to look at when we're considering the veracity of Dylan Toloman's story about what, or testament about what Chris Watts disclosed to him about these crimes and Jezebel or Nichol Kessinger's involvement with those crimes while they were spending time in jail together the first time around. Now, again, they spent time in jail together another time after that has not been discussed by him yet. And apparently that is what his next book is going to talk about. Can't wait to read it because I want to see if it aligns with the facts as we know them to be. All right, so next, we're going to listen to what Nichol Kessinger had to say about what she knew about what was going on in CERVI 319 that Monday morning. And this is going to be from the redacted portion of the August 24th phone interview, which was the second phone interview, inappropriately so, in my opinion, with Kevin Kobach. Sorry, it's just I have a couple videos that are titled similarly. I have to be careful about which one I'm picking here. All right, let me get to. Okay, so in the first half, well, let me let you hear where it cuts off from being the portion of the interview that is recorded to the portion that has no recording of it, because I think that is significant. So I'm just going to go a couple minutes back into what's recorded. They're talking about freaking EpiPens and stuff like that. I don't know.
You won't believe how old she is.
Have to renew my premium membership. Sorry.
Monday, right? This isn't Sunday. This is Monday.
No, this is Monday.
So this is after the event. This is after the murders.
Yes.
He is telling you that she mentioned that it was she was okay with the separation, although you know now that that wasn't accurate. That was something different than he had previously told you, and certainly she couldn't have been really saying anything, unfortunately. So, I mean, he's making up stories after his wife is deceased. Is that a fair statement?
Well,
is that I'm kind of trying to follow where you're going.
I don't honestly. It just struck me as odd because I don't know if he was talking about the conversation they had that day or if he was talking about North Carolina. But either way,
it just struck you as
weird.
a lie.
It struck me weird because he said that he was the one that was like pushing for it now, and I was just thinking in the back of my head, like he made it sound like when I first got into his life that he was the one who had brought up the separation, but that she was like super gung-ho about it. Like he made it sound like she was all on board with it. And then when they were in North Carolina, he's the one who said that he tried to fix it and she didn't want anything to do with it. So it was weird to me when he was saying that he was the one that initiated the separation, because I'm like, wait a minute, like, and I think it was weird to me because I think he was referring to either whatever happened on Monday morning or he was referring to whatever happened in North Carolina. And I was just really confused because I was like, well, at that point, I thought she was the one pushing you away, like not you pushing her.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So I don't, it's just a lie. I mean, honestly, I don't know if it has any significance, but it was just a lie that I caught him in. I think everything he told me was a lie, but it was like a lie on top of, it's a lie that contradicted the previous lies that he had told.
Okay, so MK Connecticut, welcome. How are you doing, sweetheart? Says, and Shay says, does anybody know who took the pictures on the sand dunes? Nobody has been able to determine that. Could have been a stranger. To me, they look like they could have been selfies. I am not sure though. If anybody knows any more about that, please let me know. MK Connecticut says, I just saw a new 2020 from 3 days ago. It was about Watts. Did you see that? I just looked for a new 2020. I didn't see anything come up that's recent. Are you sure it was not a rerun? Because if it was new, I'd be interested certainly in checking it out. If you can give me more information about that, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. Did anyone else see that? And was it new or was it a replay?
I understand. What's next on your list?
Let me see. Okay, so then in that same exact conversation, two more things happened.
Okay.
One, I was asking him about his daughters, EpiPen because I know that Cece has that tree nut allergy.
Okay.
And I was like, again, like, I don't remember like word for word, but it was something along the lines of like, she didn't take your daughter's EpiPen. And he was like, no. And I was like, well, aren't you a little worried? Because I was like trying to do my own reconnaissance, and I was like, aren't you worried about that? And he's like, well, we have like a stash of them in the basement or something like that. And he's like, she probably just took one of those. And I just thought it was weird because several weeks earlier he had told me how expensive EpiPens were. So I'm like, if they're not expensive, how do you have a stash? You don't have a stash. Nobody can afford a stash of EpiPens.
Right. They're very expensive.
Yeah. So I almost was like,
Again, the audio mysteriously cuts off. It sounds like there's some glitchiness happening.
So this is where the audio cuts off, okay? And now I'm just gonna play from. It's just a couple minutes into it where she talks about CERVI 319, the morning in question. But I'm just gonna play from where the audio cuts out, which is right here, where they're talking about the EpiPens. It doesn't sound like there is a recording, like a technical glitch. It just cuts off clean. So now after that point, there is no recording of this interview, but we have the transcript. So here's what's said. Hi, Bella.
2 that were lengthy. One, I believe, was from 9 to 11 at night.
And of course. What is he asking? Oh, I'm sorry. I went a little too far forward. What is he asking her about as soon as it cuts off? Well, take a guess. What do you think he's asking her about? The 111-minute phone conversation, of course.
So Kobach says, right, they're expensive. Kessinger says, and yeah, I almost was like, so at the time, like, I didn't think anything of it. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, that was a lie too. And so, okay. So there's that. And then also in that same conversation, so then I started questioning him about why he didn't go to the office on Monday. And I was like, and again, like, it's not an abnormal thing.
So listen, within a minute after the recorded part of that phone interview cuts off, they go from talking about EpiPens immediately to what happened in the 111-minute phone conversation. And 44 seconds after the redaction starts, she talks about what Chris Watts told her about Monday morning. What was Monday morning? Well, it was the morning when Chris Watts' family was taken from this earth. Please listen carefully.
For him to not go to the office, but it's less common. Like, I would say it happens maybe once, like every couple weeks, or maybe once or twice a month. Like, it's pretty like it occurs. So it's not like extremely abnormal, but I just thought it was ironic that his wife was missing and he wasn't at the office that morning. Okay. And so, here's the deal. So Sunday night, he told me I have to go straight to the field. I mean, I guess that's something else you probably want to know. Okay. So I didn't think of that. So Sunday night during which conversation? So one we're talking about now, you referred to it as your first conversation. I don't remember. You had 2 that were lengthy. One, I believe, was from 9 to 11 at night. And we had talked a little bit. It was about this previously, about him saying that he wasn't going to go to the office. Yeah, so I'm sorry. It's like I jump around sometimes. That's okay. When I start remembering stuff, so he the big conversation that we're talking about, the really important one where he like gave me all those like weird one-off details, that he was the first long conversation on Monday night. I don't know what time that was, but that was like the first long one where he said all of that stuff. Like, all of that was in one conversation. that and when you say all that stuff like the smelly sheets, talking about the ring, the wedding ring. Okay. The weird part where he slipped up about like him being the one to push the say, okay, gotcha, them separating and not her. So, and and then the EpiPen thing, and then all of that. And then so back to Sunday, August the 12th. That night, I believe, we only had one phone conversation.
Yes, Justice A through Z. We were just talking about Behind Criminal Minds, and I was saying that he put out a couple new Watts videos, and I love the ones that he did about Rourke. These two I thought were just, I really thought they were kind of honestly recreations of Footsteps of Murders videos. I just did want to say that. I think she needs to be credited for more. She's done such great work with a timeline on this case, and we were talking about some of these issues because there were just some things that might seem trivial to some, but with what we are talking about, with what he was talking about, I believe they are significant. So that is what we have been talking about. Yes. So
I looked at it. I pulled up my phone records today, and I'm pretty sure we only had one phone conversation. And then I think I just went to bed. Okay. But on Sunday night, the phone conversation, that's the one where I heard the TV on in the background, and I was like, maybe he's staying up waiting for her. Do you remember I told you guys that? Yes. I was like,
now,
I do want
to point out how many times when she's asked about the 111-minute phone conversation. Now, there is a total of, I have been able to identify across the 5 interviews, she has been asked about the 111-minute phone conversation a total of 11 times. There are 2 things that she says about it. Almost every time something she says about it is he was watching the TV, thought it was weird. And I was like, maybe he was waiting up for her. She is perseverating on that. And the reason that is because in the moment when she had the thought that maybe he was up waiting for his wife, you know, she had flames coming out of every orifice of her skanky body. Like that is for sure. And to this point, it still burns her ass and other orifices so much. She can't help but talk about it, even when she's trying to conceal everything she knows about this crime to the investigators that have the potential, although she doesn't believe so because she is a self-entitled empanada. She just can't help herself from talking about it. The other thing that she talks about that discloses that was discussed in that 111-minute phone conversation she's about to touch upon is that, but she's going to change the story, is that he told her he was going to be going to CERVI 319 in the early morning hours of that Monday morning. So please listen carefully.
That the TV was on because he talks to me when he's in bed, and he wasn't in bed. So this is the same conversation. In that conversation, he told me, I have to go straight to the field tomorrow. And he was just like, you know, like I'm not going to get to see you in the morning. And I was just like, all right. And I was like, why? And just like, I got to go. He's like, I got to go check out a site and like a release in the morning. And a release is like when the oil industry has like a release of any type of like oil products or anything like from any of our equipment. And I was like, I remember asking him, I was like, well, why would you have to go check out the release? You're not part of the environmental team. So when you say release, is that he was like a spill? Kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't want to call it or like something's leaking or because, yeah, like something's leaking. Like, okay. Anything that's involved with the oil and gas industry anytime, like, so like if a piece of equipment leaks, I mean, you've got to think they've got millions and millions of pieces of equipment. Like, sure, it happens. And so he's like, I have to go check out a release. And I remember asking him, I was like, why do you need to go do that? You're not part of the environmental team because like our field operators, they will find releases and they'll call our environmental team, which is like who I work for. They don't call me though, because I'm not the one that deals with that stuff, but they do call people like in my department and they say, hey, I'm on this job site. And you know, like a tank battery is leaking, or like oil tanks leaking or something like that. And then we go out and assess it and clean it up and so on and so forth. So it's noted unintelligible. So those are actually specialists that go out and clean this up, and he's not one of those people. No, he's not. But sometimes, like, those guys, like, his job is important to, like, shut in oil wells if there's a leak, or like shut valves if there's a leak. Like, he manages the equipment. So when he was like he's like, I got to go out, check a release, and I was like, why are you going to do that? That's not your job. And he was just like, I need to go check out some of the equipment where the release occurred. Now, that part really didn't seem too odd to me. I mean, it makes sense that they're like, hey,
Now, something I want you to know is how she is explaining that during the 111-minute phone conversation, the only bit of information she is going to disclose, other than the fact that he was on the television, and she was like, maybe he's waiting up for Shanann. Oh my God. Is that he was going to go out to CERVI 319 early morning the next day. It wasn't going to be in the office. And I want you to notice how casually she's talking about, like, it's no big deal, not triggering anything, no red flags, standard, what did she say? Order of operations or whatever, dumbass, mempanada.
We have a release. Send an operator out and make sure he said he had to do a lockout, tag out on this site. So that means that depending on where the release is, if it's near a piece of equipment that could be have like potential energy to be hazardous, what we do in the oil industry is what's called a lockout, tag out. And certified operators such as himself will go out there and they will pull a lock with a tag.
Now, all of this technical explanation is another, I mean, Justice A3Z just pointed out one classical form of deception, stonewalling. And this is another, technique that chronic deceivers use, is to give great deal about things that are completely irrelevant, not necessary, and simply were not asked about.
On the piece of equipment where you operate it, so that it cannot be in use. Like, they'll de-energize the piece of equipment and like shut it down, and then they'll put a lockout, tag out on it. And then the point is, like, so then if the environmental team comes in to clean up the mess, nobody accidentally re-energizes this piece of equipment while we're trying to clean up the mess, because it could injure somebody. Does that make sense? Yes, I got it. Okay, so now I'm remembering this just now, and he's like, I think I gotta go do a lockout tag out on some of that equipment for the release. Would that be something that would have been tracked? Certainly. There's a lot of paperwork and safety requirements and all sorts of things with each site. So if he was actually going to do a lockout tag out, would that be something that I'd be able to look up at record at Anadarko and know that he was actually assigned to do that? To be honest with you, probably. Again, I did not work with him, but if there's one thing that I do know about Anadarko, and I love, and I'm going to miss those guys so much, it's the fact that they're very safe. Like, that is, they're one of the best oil and gas companies because of how safe they are. So with that being said, I would be willing to bet that there's typically, well, like you, a protocol. Right. So I mean that there would have to be a known problem for him to do a lockout tagout, right? Yes. So yes. Somebody would have had to call and said, there's a, in your guys' words, release at the site. Then some boss or whoever it may be would call Chris and say, hey, Chris, I need you to go check this out. If you're a skilled equipment operator, you make the decision. You lock it out if you have to. Then the environmental team comes and cleans it up. So there's got to be like a track. Yep. Record of all that's going on. I'm assuming that there's probably is, because lockout, tag out, because if I mean, it's to save lives, so it's a very serious thing. Right. It's a safety thing. And like certainly certain people, yeah, and like only certain people are authorized. And like I couldn't lock out, tag out something like I don't have right that certification. Plus you're shutting down. It's not.
Finally, homemade Manjaro makes your pants
sorry.
drop in just 1 week. I've developed
A piece of equipment that makes money. So
Yeah,
yes.
I have to say, people that complain about too many ads during my videos, I have it on the lowest possible setting, and there are seriously not a lot of ads during my videos compared to other videos. I haven't seen ads during my videos in a really long time because I guess my premium just ran out, but now I'm seeing them. So please, seriously, no.
Somebody wants to know that, right? Yes. Somebody there, yes. There is a, I mean, it's a business. I'm just trying to think as a business person how they would do that, because certainly if you're doing that, they want to get the team out there and clean up whatever is going on as soon as possible. So they can get that piece of equipment back in order and running so they can continue to pump oil. Understood. Well, and to the other thing too is he hadn't even looked at the site yet. So it's like, how do you know that you need to do a lockout tag out? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's noted unintelligible. I mean, I would like to, it's something for me to investigate. I'm just kind of trying to get because you obviously know a lot. Yeah, more about the oil industry. I don't know anything about it. That makes sense to me. And that's good. So that's good. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't even think of that till just now. So anyways, that is a question for Anadarko. That's not a question for me. Yup. So he told me he was going to have to do that. And I was like, all right, cool. So he didn't show up for work. I mean, well, he did show up for work on Monday, but supposedly he was in the field. And then Monday evening, after my friend Jim left, that's when Chris and I spoke on the phone in that first really extended conversation. Again, I don't know exactly what time it was. It was late, but that first really extended conversation, that's when he started kind of all that really creepy stuff. And then in that conversation, I started questioning him. And I was like, do you really? I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I asked him, I was like, did you really go to a job site this morning? And he was like, yeah. I was like, and who told you to go there? And I think he said his.
Now, listen, now she's talking about asking him if he really went to the job site this morning. Her story's already starting to conflict with himself. And this is also when she blows her cover of what she's maintained in every other interview or statement she's ever made, that she did not talk to him on the phone during the day on Monday at all, but she outs herself here.
Foreman had asked him to go, either him or his co-cowing man is this guy named Troy. I don't know Troy.
Yes,
I don't even know what he looks like, but I do know he exists. So I guess their foreman relies on Chris.
Leave Jim alone, aka narrator. You are on fire tonight. Your comments are literally making me and apparently Honey Bun and other people laugh out loud.
And Troy to kind of run their little part of the field. And so Chris was like, yeah, my foreman asked either he or Troy go out there and go look at it. And do you know the foreman's name? I don't. He's got a few of them, I think. Okay. I want to say that's okay. I want to say Luke Epple, but I don't know. You're going to need to find that out with Anadarko too. Okay. That's an Anadarko question. That's all right. And I know who, but
No.
Hey, sorry for interrupting. Isn't that
Yeah,
annoying?
thanks. You
What
are.
if I told
It
you there
totally is annoying. Okay, sorry for those of you that have to see ads and videos. All right, I'm going to pop another video in here. Welcome to all of you that have come in. Thank you so much for being here. Please click the like. I would greatly appreciate it. And people are speculating about what NK probably smells like. And we've had some really good guesses. The most recent was, where'd you go, Sub Rosa? Weed, incense, and Dollar Tree shampoo. And Kevin really liked that. And I mean, I feel like that could be pretty accurate. What do you guys think?
On how full the tanks were.
The drive from the Watts residence at 2825 Saratoga Trail to CERVI 319 that tragic morning took Chris Watts a little bit over an hour. And the first drive is on Colorado Highway, and the second half of the drive is in a beginning to be desolate area, and then the end of the drive, almost the last quarter of the drive, is completely desolate without a single site, a building or person in sight for miles. It's an incredibly eerie trip. The journey from Frederick, Colorado to Rogan, Colorado is about 37.5 miles and is estimated to take about 42 minutes. Rogan is a very isolated, very small community. In fact, the population is only about
I would like to say I've
440.
seen a number of videos that have taken big portions of this video that I created from scratch and have used it on their channel, which is totally fine with me. You're welcome to use my things, but I haven't seen a single person credit me in the description at least. So if y'all could please do that, I'd really appreciate it.
40 people. And the size of Rogan is also very small. It's only 1.4 square miles, mostly spanning this vast, vast country land. It is, of course, an agricultural community right there in the community itself, although many residents of Rogan commute to wherever it is they go during the day, and that average commute is almost 30 miles. These are some of the actual dwellings that you can see in Rogan, and a lot of the property there, a lot of the buildings or houses are actually abandoned. There is a big production here, and these almost look like the oil tanks, but they're not. This is a wheat production center, and it's part of the agricultural center that basically is Rogan, Colorado. People who live there and in that area say that the weather can be changing. It can go from very, sunny and dry to very windy and treacherous, and it's seemingly a matter of moments. And because there's so little buildings, population, or anything going on other than this vast Colorado prairie land, you can look out your window or look east or look west and actually see where the weather is changing. So have you ever been in a place where it's nice and sunny and you look in one direction and you can see a storm or brewing? So people that live there claim that it's very much like that, but, amplified to what I think my experience is. Now, keep in mind that after you travel that 37 plus miles from Frederick, Colorado to Rogan, CERVI 319 is 9 miles past Rogan, Colorado, from where Chris Watts was traveling. And those roads are all dirt roads, or just, as are described in the Discovery, 2-track roads, which really means backcountry roads that really nobody travels. And you're not probably going to get very far on them unless you're driving a truck. Okay, so if you look at this next chart here, you're going to see that after the 6 o'clock hour, there were heavy thunderstorms being reported in the Rogan area. Now, these were heavy thunderstorms without any noted precipitation. So if you look at 6:53 p.m. and you look all the way over to the right-hand side, you'll see 0.3 inches of rain. The weather was collected in Kinsburg. That is the closest historical weather data collection center. It is approximately 1.7 miles from CERVI Ranch. Historical weather records indicate no rain on Monday, August 13th, and moderate rain, 0.3 inches, on Tuesday, August 14th, 2018. These moderate rain continued for 30 minutes to 90 minutes and was followed by some sprinkles, shall we say. The winds were perhaps the more significant event, with moderate sustained wind from the hours of 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., with strong gusts of wind up to 53 miles per hour. And why is discussing what happened at CERVI that day important and what's going on at CERVI and the drive to CERVI and all of that? Well, there's a few things. There's different theories on what really happened that day. And I absolutely believe we do not know the full truth as of right now. So the weather on the 13th and 14th very much relate to those theories. They can possibly prove or disprove some of the theories. And also something that is very important is understanding the experience of the human beings on that day. If Bella and Cece, Chris Watts' two beautiful little girls, were in fact alive on that trip from Frederick, Colorado to CERVI 319, this journey of over an hour in the back of that truck must have been absolutely horrifying.
There's one single video that's responsible for leading over 2,000 Christian men to permanently quitting the P word. And
so now let's take a look at the recovery efforts per the discovery. Here, I'm reading from Dave Yuckom's report and the Chris Watts discovery file. An observation regarding CERVI 319. The Anadarko property is the leased property within the CERVI Ranch, which is 35,000-acre cattle ranch located in southeastern Weld County, Colorado. The leased property, known as Oil Tank Field CERVI 319, is used for extraction and collection and storage of raw crude oil from all local wells and pumps. The Anadarko well site was located approximately 9 miles north of Rogan, Colorado, along dirt roads and dirt two-track trails. The site itself is a 3 to 4 acre property fenced with barbed wire and secured by a locked gate on the west end. The topography and geofeatures consist of sandy dry soil with sparse native vegetation and dry pasture rangeland for livestock. No structures other than oil collection tanks, pumping equipment, and agricultural infrastructure are visible in any direction for several miles. Within the fenced area are two large tanks approximately 20 feet in height and 12 feet in diameter. Each tank is equipped to hold approximately 400 barrels of crude oil, which is 16,800 gallons. Also within the site was a wellhead, pumping facilities, waste collection, and venting and pressurizing equipment. Within the site, numerous safety precautions and procedures are in place due to the toxic vapors and volatility of the crude oil gas. Anadarko, Day 1, August 15th, 2018. Due to diminishing daylight, auxiliary lighting was brought to the scene by Anadarko. Located to the south and east of the wellhead was an area that appeared to have been recently excavated and filled back in. The area appeared to be approximately 8 feet by 14 feet in diameter. Living foliage was observed partially buried under the uneven ground. Once the search warrant for the property had been confirmed to have been signed, a more thorough search of the property was done. Items of evidence located were collected and packaged by myself and F.S. Schroeder. Photos were taken of the scene with and without markers. Measurements were taken through the use of global positioning or GPS, polar coordinates, and a laser measuring device. Blue Star latent blood reagent was applied to the thief hatch and the tank after positive and negative presumptive tests of the reagent had been done with the expected results. No chemical luminescence was observed on each tank or the catwalk connecting the tanks. On the north edge of the excavated plot was a rusted rake head. The rake head had been placed with a handle attachment portion buried onto the ground. To the east of the plot was a wooden tool handle, as well as a piece of metal that was consistent with connecting a rake head to a rake handle. On the property were 2 plastic bags. One bag was located on the west of the excavated plot, while the bag was located to the south. To the south of the black plastic bag was a bed sheet. The sheet was fitted and consistent with the same pattern and colors of sheets I observed in the kitchen trash at the home of Saratoga Trail. As the search of the site continued, I observed several strands of suspected hair attached to the interior flange of the top hatch, the thief hatch, on the easternmost crude oil storage tank. After the collection of visible evidence, CMS Maloney and I began the excavation of the suspected gravesite, approximately 9 inches below the surface grade. CMS Maloney and I located the adult female victim believed to be Shanann Watts. The victim was in a fetal position with her knees pulled into her chest at the bottom of the grave and her feet directed up towards the top of the grave. Her chest and face primarily facing down into the grave, while her back was oriented up. Her head was towards the west, while her feet were towards the east. Her left arm was extended to the east alongside of her head. The victim was wearing a pair of blue underwear and a light colored shirt. The depth of the grave when the body was removed was approximately 27 inches deep. The Weld County coroner took possession of the victim at midnight and 20 minutes on Thursday, August 16, 2018. All items of evidence collected at the Anadarko site on Wednesday, August 15th were transferred to Detective David Baumhover at midnight and 12:39 on Thursday, August 16th, 2018. CBI remained on the scene throughout the night as part of scene security. Scene processing day 2, August 16th. Images taken through the use of the drone were taken prior to the arrival of investigators and support personnel to the scene at approximately 7:30 a.m. At approximately 10 a.m. on Thursday, August 16th, the process of unloading contents of the tanks in search of the 2 juvenile female victims and other evidence began. Anadarko employees began their subcontractors began the process of unloading and emptying the tanks. This consisted of draining the tanks through a gravity-fed line at the base of each tank into a collection tray, which was 8 by 3 by 6 feet. The tray was then emptied through a 4-inch hose with the 3 8-inch strainer into a vacuum system attached to the tanker truck. Once the tanker truck had been filled and no items of evidence had been identified during the course of the draining of the tank and filling the truck was released with its contents from the scene. Once the tank was empty, entry into the tanks for body recovery could only be done by specially trained and certified personnel. Entry and recovery was done by the Colorado State Police Hazardous Materials Team through a side hatch located near the bottom side of the tank. Entry into the tank could only be done with the use of a self-contained breathing apparatus and full hazardous material protection gear. Atmospheric conditions as well as volatile flash points were monitored by Anadarko employees as well as the CSP Hazardous Material Team. Upon completion of emptying the tanks, a juvenile female believed to be Celeste Watts was found buried in crude oil sludge at the bottom of the east tank. The victim was recovered by CSP and was wearing an orange-pink colored shirt, shorts, and a diaper with no shoes or socks. After the recovery of the victim from the east tank, the west tank was drained under the same procedural guidelines. Again, found at the bottom of the tank in the crude oil sludge was the second juvenile female believed to be Bella Watts. The victim was wearing a pink multicolored shirt and shorts, no shoes or socks. The tanks were both searched for additional evidence by CSP. No additional evidence was located. The waste and overflow tank directly to the east of both tanks was visually searched for additional evidence. No evidence was identified.
Sorry.
Can't lose belly fat? Try.
So inappropriate. Sorry. I don't even know how to restart premium, so I can't try to do it while I'm in the stream. I have to look into things. All right.
Was searched for additional evidence by CSP. No additional evidence was located. The waste and overflow tank directly to the east of both tanks was visually searched for additional evidence. No evidence was identified or observed.
Okay, so I just wanted to play that through to the end because I think it's just important to remember what happened, where it happened, and just the horrible nature of the crime that was committed by more than one person. And one person at this time has been charged and was convicted, but not really prosecuted of the case, but hopefully will rot in prison. But another person who should have been charged heavily in this crime. And that just is, I don't even feel I have to say in my opinion anymore. I think this channel has proven that to be the case, and there is more proof that it is forthcoming, is still walking free. So we heard a little bit about what Nichol Kessinger said about Chris Watts telling her during the 111-minute phone conversation that he was going to be going out to CERVI 319 in the early morning hours of Monday, August 13th, and would not be reporting into the office. We heard what she said to Kevin Kobach in the redacted part of the phone interview from August 24th. Her final interview happened on August 26th, just 2 days later, and the topic came up again. So let's listen to what she had to say about that same topic on that day during that interview. Hi, Kelly. Welcome. Thank you so much. Kelly says, I'm new to your channel and love it. Well, welcome. We're so glad you're here. The way you look at all sides of this tragedy, I love. Thank you. I appreciate that. I try to be fact-based and balanced and nothing but. There is so much more to the narrative and I'm not victim bashing, but his first confession, I don't know, maybe. I really do not think that Shanann took the lives of those girls. I do not think that. I know what you're saying. There is more to this story, and I think it is all important, and I think it all needs to be discussed and should be discussed, and there is no problem with discussing. In fact, it does a service to people to discuss these human issues, and it pays respect to the memories of the victims. So many people over the years, a lot lately, have said, oh, just stop talking, let her rest in peace, let them rest in peace, victim bashing. That's not it at all. Nobody's not letting souls who have passed on rest in peace. It's not even something I can do. I don't have the power to, don't want the power to do it.
Now, so maybe you can move back in. I hope so. We will see. I forgot what else was saying. Are you guys? Am I in trouble because I deleted his text? You're not in trouble. I didn't know what was going on at that point. So
I think it's amazing how she says, I'm not in trouble because I deleted his text. And he just goes, you're not in trouble. is, put it out there. They can try to refute it in the eyes of the public or in a court of law, and they could do neither. So the last attorney that I talked to said it's just a matter of whether you're ready to do that battle, which I guess I haven't determined yet. But I might decide that if I think about it and look a little more into it and find out he's right, then I probably will just put it out there. And I know you guys will all back me in handling it.
Does that cause question?
Of course
it does. But is it criminal? No. Is there concern that you're hiding something?
Oh, sorry.
The Chrome extension everyone will be using.
Oh my God, the one advertisement you didn't see while I was looking at this was like an earwax remover. It was fucking disgusting. I was like, ew, get your ear off my screen. It was disgusting. What? I believe, what? Is this a quiz? Oh my God. I'm so sorry for people that see ads. This is horrible. Okay.
Potentially. That's why I want them, or I wouldn't be asking for them.
I know.
And you've been upfront with me about everything. I don't have a concern that you ever told Chris, I don't want you, go kill your wife, or get rid of your kids, or I don't want to date you if you have kids.
Of course. Now, this is very interesting. Let's listen carefully what he said and then go back to what Dylan Tallman claims in his book.
And I'd like to come to work for you.
I'm thinking about it.
I went back a little too far.
Small employers. I've always been a really good employee to those people. Everybody, when I leave, is pretty disappointed. This is the first time
we know.
I've ever
Everyone loves you.
from a job. So,
sometimes that can be tough to get over too.
it's hard. This was like the dream job. I feel awful about all of this. Like, I wanted that for so long to get out of the oil field. I was so tired of living on oil rigs.
It was a dream job. I feel awful about this. And for a split second, you're like, oh, okay, she's going to show some compassion and some actual human emotion for the fact that 3 people and an unborn baby savagely, in a barbaric way, horrific way, lost their lives. And then she just goes on to grieve about the loss of her dream job. I mean, if this is not the definition of narcissist behavior, then as a behavioral therapist, I am going to say my professional opinion is I do not know what is.
It's a rough life. I just want to be in the office and work in environmental for an oil company. I finally got it, and all this happened.
Well, you have that skill set now, so maybe you can move back into
I
that.
hope so. We will see. I forgot what else was next. Are you guys? Am I in trouble because I deleted his text?
You're not in trouble.
I didn't know what was going on at that point.
So, I know, does that cause question?
Of course
it does. There is, but is it criminal?
Wait. I don't know exactly what the context was. And I actually don't even know who said, but don't tell people they're in the wrong chat, my friends. We try to keep an open mind here. I know there's differing opinions and we feel strongly about them. I do just need to say the moderators do a great job, and they do, sometimes have to delete comments and things, and please don't get mad at them about it. They have to do that because my channel has been under fire at various times over the history of having it, as you probably are sick of me saying, and it has been recently. So it really is a necessity, or this channel will be no more. But it's okay as long as, the guidelines here that please be respectful to the victims and their family members. And that is not to say that we're saying that any of those people are perfect. I get that. And I know it is a fine line. And, we all just do our best in trying to decide where that line is. And it's please don't anybody take offense to that. But we want people to be able to have an open conversation here as much as possible. If it were for YouTube, like kind of silencing me on things, we'd have a more open conversation. But we're doing the best we can.
Is there concern that you're hiding something? Potentially. That's why I want them, or I wouldn't be asking for them.
I know.
And you've been upfront with me about everything. I don't have a concern that you ever told Chris, I don't want you, go kill your wife, or get rid of your kids, or I don't want to date you if you have kids. None of those things ever came out of your mouth. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
So, but until those text messages that are deleted are there, and all that, it's just speculation. But it's kind of like, why did you do that? And I get your excuse. I understand what you're saying, that on Tuesday you realized who this man was and what he had done. You didn't want him to be part of your life anymore, so you got rid of it.
I didn't even want to see it in my phone. It was like freaking me out because I remember I had like deleted them, and then he sent me another text, and then I deleted that one too.
Right.
Because I was like, I don't want to deal with this. By the way, when you're looking through those texts, look for his ABC phone for that one conversation we had where he screenshotted me what he did on Monday. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you said that's his Anadarko phone.
Okay. And that should be the only like recent, like there's probably stuff if you guys are able to pull up from way back that we talked, but nothing.
The thing we talked about was him proving that he went to the oil field.
That he went to work.
That he went to work that morning.
Okay, the thing we were talking about was him proving that he went to the oil field. She says that he went to work, that morning. Okay.
At whatever site he was supposed to go to check on the
So that'll be in there.
release.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then I don't know. Am I allowed to like address my friends and tell them please no comment to the media? I mean, I haven't been telling them anything else.
I would not talk with anybody about any of this case. Except, I mean, I know you need to talk to a therapist.
I think I missed what I was trying to point out.
Because I remember I had like deleted them.
You're not in trouble.
I didn't know what was going on at that point.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry. Hopefully it's not earwax. That's all we can hope for. It's not good. Like a writing board that costs like $500. No, it's okay. We can get one of those for $20.
Now, does that cause questions?
Of course
it does. There is, but is it? No. Is there concern that you're hiding something? Potentially. That's why I want them, or I wouldn't be asking for them.
I know.
And you've been upfront with me about everything. I don't have a concern that you ever told Chris, I don't want you, go kill your wife, or get rid of your kids, or I don't want to date you if you have kids. No.
Okay, so he says, I have no concern that you told Chris, get rid of your wife or your kids, or I don't want to date you, your kids, So let's just go back and listen to, what it was that Dylan Tallman said in his book. And if you don't mind, just give me a second here. I'm just going to keep playing this. I'm just going to get where I read, where I read this before because my throat just hurts a little bit. And I just, I'm trying to like take a little bit better care of myself because I push it. So just give me one sec. Okay. Here, let me go forward a little bit more to when she talks about the messages too. It's kind of interesting stuff. Okay.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
At 4:07 p.m. What's he talking about? Pounding fruit? Is that you or him?
That's him.
Talking.
Oh, so he was talking about that birthday party he was going to go to. Whoever was hosting it, I don't remember. Like, he told me the name once, but I forgot. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. Like, the only names that I remember very well is Nick and Mark. Those are the only two that I could be like, oh yeah, like I could tell you like maybe a little
Those
bit
are his
about
friends?
people. Yeah.
Okay.
But he went to the birthday party and he said, oh, this guy always barbecues. And then he was saying, oh, he didn't barbecue, so he was saying he had fruit and asparagus. Yeah, didn't do any smoked barbecue at the time. He did hot dogs, so he was saying he avoided that. He was like trying to eat healthy.
So this is the final one.
This is the one. I don't know if this is in order. I'm not sure exactly what this is referring to. I think this one at the bottom, this, oh my God, that's absolutely ridiculously freaking out. That, do you remember when I told you, like I was always trying?
Yes, this is the box of Unicorn Lucky Charms part. Everybody get ready.
Like incorporate his kids and stuff. I mean, even if it wasn't like directly like me and him, but just like I was always thinking of cute stuff when I'd see stuff and I was like, oh my God, little girls would like that. I would show him and I found this box of Lucky Charms that was Unicorn Lucky Charms.
Okay.
And I thought they were really cute and I texted it to him and I was like, do your little girls know about these? Because they're awesome. And I was like, little stuff like that. And I don't think that that's the 13th because I don't think I talked to him that day. What day was the 13th? I can't remember.
Monday.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get rid of that. Okay.
Hey guys.
Yeah. No, bye-bye. Okay. Okay. So now again, let's listen to what Dylan Tallman said in his book, what he claims. So the comments that'll be shown were from this portion of the live stream earlier. Oops. Just go back a little tiny bit. Okay. Why wouldn't he want you? Why would he want you in this foul place? I couldn't help but question him. The first Christians lived under heavy persecution. Look at Paul. He wrote his best work from prison. He was in prison 7 times for the gospel, Chris explained. We're not being persecuted. We are being prosecuted, and not for the gospel. We are, at best, the criminals on the cross next to Jesus, I replied. Good conclusion, Dylan. Causing him to go silent for a moment. They're talking through it. Good. More successful than my chit. Good call, leave Jim alone. You're on fire tonight. Very astute comments, especially about she went from sounding like a 5-year-old to an old woman who ate a cigarette sandwich for lunch earlier. That was super funny. I didn't pin it, but that was fucking hilarious. Wait, hold. I gotta find where this was now. Sorry. There we go. In her books, Letters from Christopher, that we, yes, have discussed on this channel. Let me just make sure that's in there for you. Okay. She incited the king to do evil. I feel, and I will put a link to this on Amazon in the description.
Let me get
that it will call it in the cell. Well, Jesus came for individuals as ourselves. The first disciples were tax collectors, a murderer, and a prostitute. They were all sinners. He didn't come to call the righteous. He came to call sinners to repentance, he conveyed. I understood that perhaps more than anyone. However, I don't think God intended for him to kill his pregnant wife and children. It didn't sound like he intended to either. I didn't hear drug dealer on your list of saints, I pointed out to him jokingly. Oh, yeah, you're on the top of that list. That's what Dylan's in for, he said. So where are you on that list? I asked Chris. I could have probably heard a pin drop from how silent it became at the moment. I thought he had vacated the conversation with a delay in his next response. I would be considered as the likes of Barabbas, Chris admitted. Barabbas was the murderer that was held before the crowd with Jesus and Pilate, offering to release him or Jesus. No, knock it off. Barabbas was a murderer, dude. You are not. You didn't mean to kill your wife, I said, not even thinking of his children. I was closing my eye to the facts. I didn't want to know anymore. I love Chris like a brother. And I didn't want to look at him the way everyone else did. He was such a great guy. He was too humble, too down to earth. He cared about others. There wasn't a criminal bone in his body. This is what drew me to him and formed our friendship. I'm so sorry, but the narrator says NK probably rolls her own tampons. And follows Catch Chick's rules and everyone else's. Thank you, moderators, by saying, in my opinion. Thank you, narrator. You're just killing me tonight. He was different from what I was used to. You deserve to know. You're my spiritual twin, he said. I was sure if I wasn't sure if I was sure if I actually wanted to know, but I think that's a typo. I think it should say I wasn't sure. Some people say that you are the company you keep. If this is true, did we click because we're both evil spirits? No, that was nonsense. Get it off your chest, brother, I said, allowing him to tell me more of his story. Then Chris is speaking now. Nichol kept saying not to go to the police. Not yet, and to lay low. She told me she would marry me. We would sell the house and everything and move. I told her that my older daughter saw enough to incriminate us. Or incriminate me. I told her that my wife's body was still in the house. She held me tight, told me not to worry. She said she would send somebody to get it and bring it to work like nothing happened. She held me and told me that it would be just the two of us. She kissed me and made me feel like I couldn't lose her. I would do anything for her.
Obviously.
He stopped, took a deep breath, and exhaled. I thought I knew where this was going. I really didn't want to know. I also knew the power of love and deception. It's all right, bro. The Lord forgives anyone of any sin. You know that, I reassured him. This is what I meant when I told you that she made me choose between my family or her. The girls were what was left of my family. I chose her. So again, Chris says here, according to Dylan Tallman, in the context of them being in prison together, talking through their telephone or an electrical outlet between their cells, Dylan Tallman says, Chris says, this is what I meant when I told you that she being the mistress, Nichol Kessinger, made me choose between my family or her. The girls, what was left of my family. I chose her. He confessed. The wiles of love make people do some of the worst things. So, who killed the girls? I asked the question of questions. I told you that it wasn't my hand doing it. I can't remember a lot. It was like I was possessed. You know how Jezebel ordered King Ahab to kill Naboth for his vineyard? Chris asked me. I'm very familiar with 1 Kings, I replied. I knew it. She convinced him to kill his daughters. I saw myself doing it, but it's like it wasn't me. Though I was numb and on autopilot, I couldn't hurt them. So I just stopped them both from breathing. Now, this is very interesting for a psychological behavioral perspective, but we can discuss it if you want. So again, he says, I saw myself doing it, but it's like it wasn't me. Though I was numb and on autopilot, I couldn't hurt them. So I just stopped them both from breathing, Chris managed to say. I couldn't imagine being in such a position and doing such a thing. He had just called me his spiritual twin, and I wasn't sure that I was. Then I remembered the words of Jesus, where he says to forgive those of their transgressions. I wasn't the one Chris needed to ask for forgiveness. He needed to ask God. I kept it, Matthew 7:1-2, with him, and I didn't judge. I stayed on my neutral ground on this case. She helped you with your wife's body? I questioned. I really don't want to take anyone down with me. I did it. She captivated me with her smooth words, dripping honey and Proverbs 5:3-5. She sold me a dream and bought me a nightmare. She only helped with the order for me to kill like King Ahab. So again, he says, she only helped with the order for me to kill like King Ahab. As far as hiding them, she helped me, he admitted to me. You need to start guarding your heart because that is way overboard. What did she do when you got arrested? I asked Chris. That's good advice from Dylan. She pretended to be clueless, he said with a sigh. Where's she now? She don't give a fuck about you. As soon as you got caught up, she bailed. On to the next dick. Where is she right now? I pushed for an answer. Nobody's heard from her or of her, he said flatly. She is in hiding in case she ends up incriminated in this mess, I informed him. All he managed to say was, yeah. So what are we going to do? I asked. We are going to get our book, God's Plan, published, and then people will find the truth within the truth. Then the job is done, Chris assured me with confidence. I can't remember if I want to read anything from the epilogue. Let me just scan it real quick. Yeah, I think this. Well, he just talks about his part 4 of the book here. Let me just read this one paragraph. It's apparently forthcoming. I hope readers will continue to see Chris in a different light. Through the struggles, Chris and I clicked up and were very productive. Our mission was to release our God's Plan series until he suddenly changed his mind. He changed his mind because he told the story of his case through scripture. Chris gave 2 messages, first being the gospel of Jesus Christ, the second being the facts of his case. I bring the story behind all of this. Oh, sorry, I missed the part I want to read, I think. Okay, so he says, sorry. I've decided to end part 3 where it did because the story will go on. The next book will have all the drama, the betrayal, and the lies, the secrets, media storm, my second imprisonment with Chris. So this all happened, this conversation that he. Okay, so again, that's what Dylan Tallman had to say in his book. Now, there is more to say about that. I got through about half of the content that I wanted to get through to talk about the topic with you guys, but I always do that. I always overplan my lives, and they end up being 4, 5, 6 hours long, and then people don't watch them. And I do have to keep the channel, running properly. So I am going to end it here at this point. Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'll read some comments. I'll drop the link to panel for about 10 more minutes because I would like to hear from you guys. That's super important. So let me just copy that. If anyone wants to come up, please feel free to come up. Don't be scared. Narrator says he tells a different story every time on purpose, keep people wondering. It keeps attention on him, in my opinion. This is possible. Hey, Anaphylaxis, how you doing, my friend? Hey, Amanda K, how's it going? Nice to see you. I love your comments. I always tell you that. I love reading your comments. Amanda K, very insightful. I says, talking Julia Turner, I'm not sure what she says. I'll see if I can find the comment. Says, don't you think that it's reckless of law enforcement to not properly investigate her? I think that. I don't know what Julia thinks. I'll see if I can find it. Julia says, and welcome, Julia. The Lord may forgive Chris Watts. We, however, are not the Lord. NK doesn't need to be walking free around anyone else's babies. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Did I drop the link to panel? I think I did. I can't remember. I get tired. Life's tiring, man. Okay. There it is. All right. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Keep an eyes peeled. So thank you for all you do, Kelly, especially speaking truth to the facts. Thank you. I so much appreciate that. Really. Thank you guys so much. I still to this day, and it can get a little daunting, especially with Watts videos or sometimes Idaho video, any case where, I don't know, that gets a conversation going. And sometimes it's random cases. I, to this day, read every single one of your comments. I used to literally reply to every comment, but I can no longer, I just can't anymore. There's too many. And sometimes, just so you know this, as a side note, when I'm at work and I read sometimes I'll just need to take a break and I'll go through your comments and stuff on my phone while I'm at work. Just kidding, bosses, if you can hear me. Everyone needs a break sometimes. But I cannot comment while I'm at work because we have all kinds of restrictions on our Wi-Fi because, of kind of like the at-risk teens that we work with. And also, just for cybersecurity. So sometimes I need to go back and comment and I don't get to. So sorry about that, especially if you address me directly. I try to respond if I can. So yeah, but thank you. Keep an eyes peeled. I really appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Guess nobody's coming up on panel. I don't know. I must be scary or something because I know people are always going up on panel on some other channels. But you guys are scared of me. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, maybe I don't want to turn my camera on, though, because I look like crap. I told you I was crying earlier. My eyes are all swollen, and I didn't even shower today. If I could turn my camera on just for a bunny and not me, but it's hard to do. Sorry, Stevie. But we do call the bunny that used to just be Corner Bunny, and I've learned since he did tell me that it kind of hurt his feelings. So thank you. He's like a new little man now. He's now Mr. Squishy. Stevie named him. Shoot, I don't have my good camera hooked up either. You would just see a little fuzzball. The camera on this computer, if I don't hook up it another camera, is really crap. I promise bunny time next time. I promise. You know what? I'll put up some. I've been meaning to do this. Right after this, I'm going to put up some. I'm just going to put them up where my regular videos go because there's no other way to do it on YouTube unless I had somewhere else for you to go and I don't. I'll put up a few bunny videos for you. Is that a deal? The recent ones too. I'll put up one of Mr. Squishy and I'll label it Stevie. Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you. Thank you. Oh, Edward doesn't have the technology to go up on panel. Oh, you can just go up on a phone or something, I think. I think people do it all the time. You can try if you want. If it doesn't work, that's okay. If you want, oh, Sherry's coming up. Sorry, sweetheart. I didn't even look down there and see it first. Everybody, welcome our girl, Sherry. How are you doing, my friend?
Hi.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Awesome.
Okay, I don't know what you want to talk about.
Anything. Well, what do you think about the stuff that we talked about? What do you think about what Chris Watts' former cell buddy Dylan Tallman said about, Chris saying that Nichol Kessinger told him, like what he said that I think is really critical is, when I said that, she told me to choose between myself and my family at that time because he had already done away with his wife, sadly, horrifically, my only family that was left were the girls. And I chose her. So essentially, he's saying that she gave him the choice. It's me or your girls. Like that he says that she gave him orders to do what he did. What do you think about that? Oh, can't hear you, honey. I can't hear you, sweetie pie. So you talk right into I think you're on your phone. Talk right into it. Sherry. Oh, there. Wait, I can hear you a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was in my headphones. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Oh, okay. I know that happens to me sometimes too.
I don't want to swear, so I'm trying to be.
It's okay. It's at the end of the stream. It's good.
That man, Chris had a choice.
Yes.
In my opinion, he's gonna blame everyone and everything. He had a choice. He had a beautiful family.
True.
And I'm sorry. He chose wrong, and he had a choice.
Yes.
I don't want to say he chose wrong. He chose. He had an affair. He knew it was wrong. He did it anyways. This case disgusts me. I mean, I can't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it into words, Kelly. I just don't.
Yeah. Well, listen, so I totally agree with you. And I'm so glad you said that, because just please let it be known that I first of all think Chris Watts is exactly where he needs to be. And it was his choice. And even in the rendition that apparently he's telling, he did make that choice. And so for all of those reasons, he should burn in hell and he should be incarcerated for the rest of his life. And those aren't even horrible enough punishments for what he did to those beautiful people, right? But if Nichol Kessinger was involved in any way, whether it was after the fact with planning CERVI 319 or helping to dispose of the remains, or if she, ordered him to do that, that is still a crime, and I still think that needs to be prosecuted.
Well, yes, she should be in jail with him, but and I don't know how on God's green earth that he did not rat her out.
I know.
I don't understand it till this day. If she did not plan the murders with him, she was there after the fact. You could see it in the video. She must have helped him clean up the murders, take his daughters, his wife in the back of her truck in the back. There is a video of that, and I forgot.
Oh wait, now you think that they took her in the back of her truck? Which what, Sherry? With what we just read about what Dylan Tallman said, that actually makes total sense, because what Chris Watts says, according to Dylan Tallman, is that he told her about Shanann, and she said, "Don't worry, baby, we'll sell the house, we'll get married." She hugged him and kissed him and assured him and said, "I will have someone take care of her and take her to work, whatever that means." But she said, according to Dylan Tallman, according to what he says Chris said, that Kessinger said she was going to take care of Shanann's remains.
Mm-hmm.
So wow, I didn't even make that connection. Thank you for bringing that
Yeah,
up.
yes. And I don't know how he I don't know. This is, I mean, I've loved true crime from the beginning, and I don't know how in God's name that he would put his daughters in oil is beyond me. He had
I
to have help doing that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just, and even, Sherry, I don't know what you think about this, but how many hours upon hours upon hours have we watched of the videos that Shanann posted of him interacting with his children? Now, I think that there's definitely something pathological about his personality, and I don't know how much real emotion he feels. I'd have to like evaluate him and myself to like have a better handle on that. But my initial feeling is there's something there, but I feel like he really, to the degree that he does feel loved his children. Do you think that too?
Yes, I think he did love his children. I could see it in the videos.
Yeah, right.
But oh my God, how do I explain this? I think with when he met Nichol, something changed in him.
Yes.
How do I explain this? I don't know how to explain this.
Take your time.
Nichol, I don't know. I don't know how to explain this. Oh my God, I'm not even a good.
Here, wait, let me just read this. Let me just read this super chat message really quick.
All right.
From Kelly C. And thank you so much, Kelly C. I'm so glad you made it live and that you're here tonight. It says, thank you for your insight and content, and thank you, mods. And I want to thank the mods too, because you guys are all amazing. And Sherry is one of our mods. And thanks, Kelly, for the super chat, for being here. I appreciate you. And I also want you to know that I also just brought Karen G up on stage. I don't know if it says, oh, there we go. Now it says her name. So we have Sherry, who is also one of our moderators. She's also autistic mom of 2 in chat. And then our friend Karen G, who's an OG of the channel. So what have you been thinking, Karen?
I'm just trying to get up here. I'm trying to put a picture on my thing.
So you click on the.
I'm not.
Do you know in StreamYard you click on those 3 little dots and it'll say it'll usually say edit avatar.
It's fine.
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
Okay.
No worries. No, I'm just fine coming up for the first time.
Oh, cool. I know. I was just like going through my memory files. I was like, has Karen G ever come up? Because you have been like, you've been with this channel like forever. I always get so excited when I see comments because she works a lot and she can't always make live streams and you always check in. And I
my
appreciate
second
that.
time up here.
Yeah, second time. So that's awesome. Yeah. Well, Karen, did you hear did you hear me reading or know what Dylan Tallman claims Chris Watts said in his book? And like, what do you think about that? Or what do you think about the possibility of Nichol Kessinger's involvement in a criminal way at all?
I mean, I definitely feel like it's been so long of this, and it just is so suspicious and weird and all the things that don't add up about her.
Yeah.
And if anything, it has to be properly investigated. I do not trust the DA. I do not trust any of that stuff went down. And I mean, there's always the possibility that people are trying to make money or they're trying to, do whatever they're doing in that way. The cellmate, people do that, and they have to do what they have to do to re-enter society and, make money or whatever. But
good point.
It could be a hyperbole. It could be an exaggeration. It could be these things, but there's also probably, and even if it was, I wouldn't put it past Chris Watts to be lying to his freaking cellmate.
And that is the hard part about it, because we cannot put that past him. And you do make a really good point. Now, what I said earlier is, and I still do feel this way, but with everything you just said, I am 100% with that. Of all of the accounts we've gotten from anybody who's been in prison with Chris Watts, who's interacted with him, from Sherilyn Cadle to that Chrissy, the fake psychologist, to his other cellmates or whoever it may be, Dylan Tallman's account rings the truest to me. And the reason that is when you look at the evidence and the facts that we know to be true, either because they're a matter of public record or through, this channel's team's investigations, what he is saying is most in line with what we know to be true or we have found to be true.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think he doesn't have as much to gain from it as all these other people do, to be quite honest. I don't think he really does. I mean, he could be just trying to cash in or capitalize on something.
Sure. Because you need money when you get out of prison. The way we release people from prison is a sin, really. You know,
But
it's like setting them up to fail again.
But there's also that aspect where you have to kind of think of, you know, these are real people. You know, I don't know. I part of me really thinks that he might have a point. And if he does have a point, then it goes to the space where, well, Chris Watts, like, it's like Jodi Arias. I mean, you are, or Casey Anthony, like, you're just gonna play anybody in your space, you know, that you could possibly play, like a sociopath would, you know, and what is the point of that though? But like, why would he? I mean, it could be that he just doesn't want to take the blame because he's just a little mutant. And, you know,
He has no spine, and he never has taken accountability for anything, you know.
Right. So it's like, if he could pass it off like this, like now that he's had some time to think about it, but it doesn't take away the fact that she's insanely suspicious. Like, these things don't add up. So it is kind of like that perfect storm situation where nobody knows what the actual F is going on here. And it should be investigated properly. And it's also really strange that the district attorney and all those things are happening with that it just isn't happening.
And it could be the case that, you know, someone like Dylan Tallman, it could be the case that, you know, let's say let's just say for the sake of it, and I do believe there's truth in what he's saying, but let's say I'm wrong, because I could be wrong and he's totally lying. Maybe he got out of prison because he was out of prison before he wrote these books, and he watched What's the Obsession and other channels like this, and he got the story that we were following as we followed the facts and said, oh, you know what? Hey, oh wait, I see people are watching that. Oh, look, that video got 50,000 views. There's at least enough people watching it. If I write my narrative,
you're totally right.
To that audience right there, and I know there's more of them out there that don't watch this channel, will buy my book. Both could be true at the same time, you know?
Yeah, but that's a very good point, because I'm not even thinking about it like that, that you're sequestered, and I'm not even thinking about that. And is a really good point. And that's kind of where it comes at. The guy does not seem like, what was he in for? Like drug usage or, you know,
like the drug dealing that he was in.
That's not the same thing as freaking homicide, quadruple homicide, all this stuff. Like, if a guy goes in for something like that, I don't see it as the same. I kind of have that, right. I kind of have that feeling like either he is being manipulated or I mean, either way, I'm not sure that he's not telling the truth. I guess I'll put it like that.
Or
like
maybe he and Chris Watts decided, you know, they were supposed to write a book together. Then he says Chris Watts dropped out. Maybe they have a behind the scenes deal that, hey, when you get out, you're going to write this book. It's going to sell a lot of copies for you, but you're going to tell this version of my story. We don't know. We do not know. We don't know. I mean, you guys are they're just bringing up some points that are making me think about a number of things. I mean, regardless of whether his story is honest or not, I still have the same opinion I do about Nichol Kessinger's guilt, that she needs to be investigated properly, prosecuted properly, and serve her time to society. But
it's just unacceptable. Like, even if she was in some way the most unluckiest person on the entire freaking planet, so unlucky, why wouldn't it be relieved? Like, why wouldn't you be properly investigated and everything is done, blah, blah, blah. If I was that person, I'd be pissed. You ruined my whole life over this. This guy ruined my whole life. This ruined the whole system ruined my whole life. And then, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess we don't know how we would react to that situation, but I find it I just think we all find it very freaking suspicious. Like, it's not normal. It's not normal behavior.
No.
None of
it
was normal behavior.
The freaking FBI protected her from literally the first day of the investigation. We all know from watching true crime that doesn't happen. Why?
That's not normal.
And it is the why. And there are some things that I know about her,
and
you know,
being
in cahoots with law enforcement. That's what I haven't talked about openly yet, but it doesn't go back to the first day of the investigation and the FBI's involvement. It has to do with the DA's district attorney's level and CBI.
That's so crazy to me too. It's just like how I don't want to think it. I want to think that there's a stopping point that ends very soon with a level of corruption. But like if you get into that level, then it's so deep at that point.
Yeah.
It just is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Boggling to me. And these
Excuse me.
are innocent little kids. And I understand. I understand the state of the world. I understand sex trafficking. I understand human trafficking. I understand what's happening to kids all over the world right now. And that's, unfortunate. I'm sorry to bring it up, but I know the reality of that.
Yeah.
So I can't say, oh, it's just these kids or whatever, or like fawn over these specific kids. But everybody is a person. Everybody's special. And this is, it's just unacceptable to me. I just don't, it's a failure to me.
Yeah, it is a failure. It is. And it's hard to accept that failure because we are the public that, our justice system is designed that we hold those people who failed accountable. And the fact that they're not being held accountable, it feels like their responsibility falls on us. And it does. And that's why, talk about whatever aspect of this case we need to, I think is a good thing. And I will always stand by that.
Yeah, I agree.
But
what are you thinking, Terry? I hear you over there. What are you thinking?
I hate to say that it all falls on DA Rourke. That's who I blame because he's.
And why should some one person have so much power? That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. He stopped the clock. The clock stopped. So
what an excuse.
That's why I said I don't think this case is gonna go any further. I don't think they can reopen it. I don't know if there's a new DA. Can they reopen the case? I don't know.
Yes, they could. They can't reopen. Well, they can't reopen. They're not going to reopen Chris's case because he has been rightfully convicted. But they can look into other aspects of this crime that have not yet been brought to trial. Double jeopardy. Well, double jeopardy doesn't apply to anybody here. So yes, it can happen. So even the fact you saying he has too much power, even the fact that for 3 consecutive terms he ran uncontested, that shouldn't even be allowed.
It should not be allowed. And then people are taking advantage of that right and left. And here's the thing is that people are so worried and they're so concerned. This is kind of a little bit off topic, but it's on topic a little bit too. People are struggling. People are trying to make ends meet. People are trying to do and take care of their family and take care of their friends and be human beings and to participate in our judicial system and to participate in our political system is becoming near to, if not impossible, for regular people every day to be able to do this. And that is not something that is an accident.
Yeah.
It's on purpose.
And it's not in our best interest. That's for certain.
And it's like, but it's so obvious. And I'm like, I'm glad, even if nothing comes from this, like just the push of it to show this of like, hey, no, you're an elected official and you're doing this. And it is so gross what he did with the podcast. It's so weird.
It's so
all
gross.
that stuff is
It
so
is.
gross and so weird and
So unprofessional.
inappropriate.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, people have their differing opinions on Tammy. I thought that, her husband jumping on Facebook and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's very strange to me. I couldn't even, personally, I don't even go on Facebook. I don't even use social media. It's not my thing. But so I could be technically biased.
But to be talking about your wife's business, who's an agent in the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and conducting investigations.
Died.
Right.
That were murdered. And you're going to go treat it like some kind of circus freak situation where you're just going on, hopping up on Facebook, just another day. I find it extremely narcissistic. I think it's weird. I think, you could be proud of your wife. Just tell her to her face that you're proud of her. If she cried on the floor, like she said she did, why are you hopping onto Facebook? Why aren't you just holding her and telling her that you're there for her? What is that? It's so weird to me.
It is so weird. Great point.
I almost saw Gil Creo, the guy that stopped the Night Stalker, speak in person. I was
Yeah.
way too tired for my job.
He's awesome. He's badass, I think.
That's what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
but I always go back to those people because I'm like, we have good ones though.
Yeah.
We always have to remember that kind of stuff. But
yeah. Hey, guys, if you're into the Night Stalker story, there's a great, I don't know what you, or maybe you can make some recommendations too. There's an amazing documentary on Netflix about the Night Stalker. I don't love them all, but this one is rocking, and Gil is on there, and he is one badass dude. He is a good man.
Freaking amazing.
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to watch that.
If you want
Check
to
it
bring
out.
it
There's a lot of trigger warnings in that one, but you can handle it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, couldn't they have a trial even though Chris Watts admitted to everything?
Well, the trial for as far as Chris Watts charges, no, because of the way that the DA allowed this to resolve. And again, like I say all the time, make no mistake about it. It's not the fact that Chris Watts pled that ended it. It's the fact that the district attorney accepted that plea with no contingencies, with no qualifications.
Nothing.
Generally speaking, and this is not my opinion. This is the opinion of, you know, the most venerable, respected, you know, veterans in the field that is a prosecutor. And especially in this kind of case, if somebody's going to plead like this, first of all, number one, there's a few legs of this. There needs to be an investigation that corroborates the confession. And there was none that did so in this case for all of the reasons that I've put out there on this channel through hundreds of videos. And second of all, there is no way in the world that they just would have swallowed that plea offer without saying us, okay, well, you know what, if nothing but for the sake of the family, and it should be for the public, for who these officers of the public, the investigators and the district attorney work, that you need to tell us what happened, why this happened, what was your motive, how did it go down, because we need answers to resolve this. Yeah.
That's literally the job that you got hired for.
That is the job.
And all the excuses, all the sarcastic, bitter comments. It's just, I mean, read the room. You had no clue. And I don't want to comment on the wife situation because it's weird.
Yeah.
But it's like, why was that even a thing? I mean, are we so far gone at this point that we don't even understand that people died? I just can't wrap my head around it. I can't wrap my head around the lack of empathy and the lack of just giving a crap and like not making excuses. You could have just said nothing. You could have just said nothing.
Absolutely.
But you were more concerned about a podcast.
That's right.
And I don't even want to comment on that because I don't feel comfortable with that because those things happened. But it's just definitely not, in my opinion, it's so not right. And I don't understand how you could not read the room. I don't understand how you could be so ignorant, other than the fact that you are so up on your high horse and so blinded and so uncaring. I mean, we can just delve back into it. He didn't even know the way the girls looked. Like, he made up things about how they looked that weren't even real.
That's right.
Weird. It's like you have a whole public group, thousands and thousands of people that are concerned about people that they never met in their lives and that are so sad about this. And he, who is in charge of this, can't even remember what they looked like.
That's right. You know what? And I want to actually play a little bit of that, if you don't mind. Are you okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just, for people that haven't heard this, okay, cool. Try to come back up, Pepper. I'll bring you up. And I'm going to search around a little bit for it here, but just let me try to find the some of the talking points. So this is the Survivor's Guide to True Crime. This is a podcast done by District Attorney Rourke's wife, Kim, and her friend, Kara. It's called Prosecutorial Vicarious Trauma with the Honorable Michael J. Rourke. Wait,
Yeah,
let me go ahead.
I'm just going to interject 1 second. I'll leave you alone.
No.
I find this to be propaganda. This is straight up propaganda.
I believe it is too. Well, listen, I'm so glad you said that. Listen to how she starts this.
Survivor's Guide to True Crime includes discussions of sexually based violence and is not intended for children.
Ethics in true crime podcasting. So, you know, taking those baby steps.
Survivor's Guide to True Crime includes Survivor's Guide to True Crime includes discussion
ethics in true crime podcasting. So, taking those baby steps. Joe's going to enjoy listening to it too. Supportive of me, but I'm watching him think about the decisions that he is making and that's skewed, and you can get very jaded. He is really being intentional about learning. It's so funny to listen back to this because it's my husband and his voice. And where are you, Kara? I am getting ready to go to a training for
Sorry, just give me 1 sec.
Of experience.
We're going to a training.
Okay, I'm just going to play the beginning of this.
what
I'm trying to get to is how she introduces her husband as his prosecutorial record, and to the point that Karen G just made, that this is propaganda. It couldn't sum it up any better. So you might have to listen to a little that's irrelevant, but I don't know this backwards and forwards. So we're just going to have to listen together. It's hard to navigate through.
That's the country just to piss in your Cheerios.
That's fine.
It's fine. We're really excited to bring you this episode today. Also because right now I am currently in Chicago presenting at the End Violence Against Women International Annual Conference alongside Michael. And where are you, Kara?
I am getting ready to go to a training for a podcast network, and it's on ethics in true crime podcasting. So
how ironic.
Taking those baby steps, changing the world one keynote at a time.
I love it, though. This is a great week because we're both out doing the things that we love to do most. It's re-energizing. We're bringing you this episode, and we think it's going to be really great. It's so funny to listen back to this because it's my husband and his voice, and it's him in work mode, I guess. You all know that this is how I first met him, and so that's the only version of Michael that I knew for so very long. But for Kara to be able to experience this too was really fun.
Yeah, I think Joe's going to enjoy listening to it too. Coming from military and law enforcement background, in which your mentality can get very skewed and you can get very jaded, he is really being intentional about learning what it means to be supportive and be victim centric. And it is a shift in his approach and his mentality from what is a very toxic masculinity culture to a supportive culture. And he's always been great, very supportive of me, but I'm watching him think about the decisions that he is making and the things that he says and being more intentional about it. So it will probably be a good conversation for men to listen to understand how to walk that line of being a strong alpha male and also being supportive of survivors and victims and victim centric. Mike does a very good job of being a role model for those things.
Yep. You'll hear both of us talk about there is still work to be done, but the leaps and bounds that he has taken just in addressing his own mental health, that of his office, and for prosecutors in general is really impactful. And I forget that sometimes because we go to bed together and we're in the thick of parenting and everything else here. Ew. But I forget that sometimes that what he is doing is not the norm. We've heard stories about prosecutors or district attorneys' offices or law enforcement maybe not handling cases in the best way. And I forget that happens sometimes because Mike does such an above and beyond job at his office. I don't want to gush too much or take away from the episode here, but I loved how
Local Jazz Hand says, careful, Kelly, you might get a strike. The DA is used to getting his way. You know what? And I thought about that, but here's what I have to say. Bring it.
putting him on.
Oops, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, me?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, cut you off.
I got the worst actual feelings from listening to that. That's so freaky and weird. I do not like it at all.
I feel the exact same way.
I do not think I do not think she's okay. I'm sorry if I am making judgments about people that I don't know, but the excuses made and everything. Oh, Mike is this, Mike is that. He's special. He's this. Like, no, he's a fucking asshole. That's what it's like.
Mike is a piece of shit. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I felt
Amen.
very aggressively irritated by that whole thing. Oh, what? You're a little girl and you like want to make a little podcast now? Okay, baby, we'll let you make a little podcast now. It's so demeaning. It's so gross. And I just don't like anything the freaking fuck excuse my language, but
you're fine.
It's so gross. I
It's
just,
so gross.
everything about it is so grotesque. Like, I just
I
don't.
know it is. Let me keep playing it because it gets even grosser, and I'm going to come back to you for sure. Let me just there. I think we're coming up to the part soon. I want you guys to react to.
And if you're not part of our Patreon yet, you should join, because that will be where we had a ton more content from this episode that we're going to put over there in video form. But we're going to skip doing Michael's bio today because he needs to update his bio. But also he goes into his background and his career. So he is currently the Weld County District Attorney. That is an elected position here in Colorado. But for today, enjoy this conversation with my husband, Michael. Enjoy the conversation with the Honorable Michael Rourke. Gah. That's his official title. He must be called that henceforth. Ridiculous. The Honorable Michael Rourke. Ridiculous.
Did he literally just make himself?
Kim? Absolutely not. All right. We have a very, very special guest today. The Honorable Michael J. Rourke, Kim's significant other half. Oh my God.
Isn't it the better half?
No, it is. No. Okay. Thank you for making the long commute all the way to our office here.
All the way from the couch?
Yes.
Yeah.
How dare you? Oh, all the way.
We have been talking about having this episode for quite some time, much to Michael's chagrin. And while he is an expert in the field, I also am going to relentlessly make fun of him. So be ready for that. I think you're cute.
I'm looking forward to it.
He will definitely give it back though. So yes. Well, Mike, we do an icebreaker every time. And I know the answer to this, but tell us about what you are currently binge watching, reading,
Okay, so
listening to.
I don't know if I already went past it, but what I was getting at is she introduced him as the Honorable Michael J. Rourke, and then she goes to talk about him having the most outstanding prosecutorial record in the history of the state of Denver for the number of cases that are successfully prosecuted. And I just want to bring to the point that this is one of them. Those cases were successfully prosecuted only because he did as little work as possible and did what the entire community of his peers is calling disgraceful, and accepted plea deals without a single contingency that brought justice to the table. And that is disgusting.
Absolutely freaking nothing. And by the way that this woman is talking makes me so sad, because it's effed up beyond belief. Like, I don't like to see that. I don't like to hear that, but like, oh my God, like, you know what I'm talking about. That was disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh, from the couch.
Makes me want to throw up.
I know, right? I know.
This guy is a piece of fucking garbage, dude. Like, ugh.
I know. Now, I'm going to go forward to a couple of the comments that he makes specifically about this case, and I want you guys to react to it, but just give me a second again, because I have to find it. I know approximately where they were, because I listened to him several times, but this podcast was not actually available for a while, but it's back now, so I'm stoked.
They go through the arduous task of having to drain those oil tanks to see if eating, and I put that in air quotes.
All right.
Because I refuse to do that.
Makes them extra amazing. My favorite products with adaptogens are
now,
the
I just want to also point out here. I just want to also point out that what they are doing is something that I've never done on my channel, which is to take up your time that you give me, which is all I ask of you as viewers, which is how my channel is supported, to run ads that I am doing so I can profit twice off of them in the middle of my live stream. And you will not see me do that, because I just have opinions on that. She was just dissing creators of true crime who make money off of talking about true crime. And she was saying that this is a not-for-profit podcast. And then less than 2 minutes later, she runs her own in-content ad.
You're going, and I feel it, because like, I've been following you for a really long time, and when they did that, yes, she completely 100% did that. Like, it's completely valid to be pissed the fuck off. I'm irritated. Oh, we don't do this, we don't do that. I'm like, bitch, you literally just did that.
And we have such little respect for you as the listeners that we're going to actually say that we're not going to do it, and then we're going to do it right in front of your face 30 seconds later. It's so horrible.
It's a mind fuck. People like to mind fuck the public. They like to mind fuck people, because it's the only way that people, maintain their power over other people. And that's what I'm not about. What I'm not about is like having power over other people and like being a decent freaking human being. And unfortunately, we have these people in these positions that want to mind fuck people, and they want to control and, you know, say this and that. Like the whole thing with DA work. I mean, it's going to come out. It's going to wash out in laundry. It's already washing out, but it shouldn't take this long. It shouldn't take decades. But
No,
when
it
people
shouldn't.
say like, oh, well, why can't people stop talking about this case or that case? To me, it's because there's no justice. And like justice is a real thing. It's a real thing that maybe you hold on to or you don't hold on to. For me, I hold on to justice in my heart.
Yeah.
Maybe I attach myself to this case. That's fine. So do a lot of investigators. So do a lot of people.
That's right. And, you know, I think if people are saying, you know, people shouldn't be talking about this, well, what I have to say to you, people who are going to comment, because I know they are, you're not carrying your weight. You're not doing your part. So maybe you should get off your ass and do something rather than sitting behind your keyboard and figuring it out. That's what I think about that.
He is a shitty DA. That's all I gotta say.
Amen, Sherry. Yes, he is. Here, let me keep playing this so we can hear some of his words. Yeah, I know he is terrible. Wait, there's more. There's more to be disgusted about. Hold your disgust because you're gonna need a little bit of it here. Everybody, okay.
All right.
Because I refuse to do that. I refer to this now as
makes them extra amazing. My favorite products with adaptogens are the Rise, the Zen, and the Aura, but they are also in the Serenity gummies. That's the ashwagandha that you see there. So if that sounds like something you would like to try, head on over to curednutrition.com. Use code Keratin at checkout to get an extra discount and to support us, and let us know what you think.
Fucking mushroom gummies or something.
My favorite platform to be on right now is Patreon because I freaking love our captive audience. Oh my gosh, me too. I think that
once again, another monetization mechanism, but they're not monetized.
The conversations over there are so authentic, so genuine. And honestly, because you're choosing to be there, hopefully you really, really like us and you're not going to think that we need to be committed when we are completely unhinged. I love those conversations. I also love that we've got merch that's available over there and a bunch of extra video.
We have another monetization mechanism, but guys, remember this podcast, their podcast is not monetized, and true crime channels who are monetized are disgusting scum of the earth, according to them.
Episodes to be able to watch it and have that feedback from the folks who are there that make up our little Patreon community is just so much fun.
Like the real unhinged pterodactyl laughing and me just saying all kinds of weird things that Kim sometimes cuts into episodes. So if you like those little kind of things, then you're gonna like our Patreon.
But you also get bonus content, early access, and news. And the input that we get from our Patreons really shapes what we are doing with.
A lot of people are going to know most of the time, because I think that you don't have to use their name anymore. Okay. You really don't. It's not worth it.
You notice I just did that a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's Janelle's case.
Yeah.
It's not that other guy's name.
No.
Anyway, the Frederick triple murder happened in August of 2018. And it started off with not a lot of notoriety. And really the long and the short of it was Shanann had gone on a work trip to Phoenix with some of her colleagues. She came home from the airport the night of August 13th of 2018.
I'll pause every couple minutes, but just wait till he's done talking or else it gets a little like noise over. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I know. I'm busting seams too. I get it.
18 and we know now had a discussion with the defendant about their marital future. In the very early morning hours of her return from the airport, she and her 4-year-old and 3-year-old daughter go missing. The defendant, I'm going to continue to refer to him as the defendant, is one of the first, but not the first, to call law enforcement to notify them of their disappearance. He is seen through local media channels standing on his front porch, begging and pleading, and I put that in air quotes, for them to be returned safely, trying to find information, wanting them back.
Okay, now hold up. Just wait a minute here. I'm gonna keep going forward a little so we can like listen to those parts like that you were talking about. They're so nasty. But I just for a minute, let me just hear the audio so I can pick up where we have to go.
I remember getting emails as far away as South Africa, Scotland, New Zealand. all over Europe, a lot from the United Kingdom, like I said. And so we have the burden now at this point, like I said, 2018 on the elected district attorney of deciding whether or not to seek the death penalty for this particular defendant, knowing that working its way through the legislature,
it's a burden, or it's your job, dude. It's your job.
is going to be a bill to eliminate the death penalty for consideration in the state of Colorado. But I wanted to make sure that we were doing the right thing for Shanann's family. And so Steve Wren, my chief deputy, and I flew to North Carolina.
Holy shit. And if you have listened to my most recent content about it, this is just so fucked up. I am like, my blood pressure, I can't even imagine what it is right now, because the reason that his family decided that they were going to settle, first of all, he gets the story wrong here, and he does a number of ways. But second of all, I don't know my first and seconds right now. I'm so flustered. The reason the family decided to let the death penalty go is because they went with the story. The district attorney wrote, just give me a second here. Like, let me just explain to people that don't know this whole thing yet, because I know that you do, and I know you already have feelings about it, as you should. Is that the family went with a story that the district attorney told them that he was sure that all of them, their lives were taken at the house, and that they were all seen, their remains taken deceased from the house to the truck to CERVI 319. It wasn't until 3 months later, after this man was already in prison, he was already charged, he was already convicted, he was already serving a sentence. There was no more chance to do it the way the family wanted. So don't you dare, District Attorney Rourke, tell us that you wanted to do things the family did, because it's a fucking lie. The only reason that they went for that was because they bought his story, because they trusted him. But what he did not do was to fully investigate this case, and information that he did know, he did not disclose to the public, and he did not disclose to the family. District Attorney Rourke, if you're listening to this, go ahead and strike me, because you know what? I know that, and I have evidence of it, and I will bring it out the next day. So I dare you to do that. So the family said, and I played some clips in my recent videos about Dr. Phil interviewing the Rusek attorneys, saying if they knew what Bella actually experienced, which was the truth, they would not have been okay with the way things turned out, meaning they would not have accepted Chris Watts' plea. They would have taken him to trial, and they would have pursued the death penalty. And the fact that he took that from the Ruseks is beyond words.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It's unforgivable is what I think it is.
And then he has the nerve to go on his wife's
to do that
with us, knowing what we know, and to still tell this story.
Can I just say, is she not okay in her brain space?
She must
to
not be.
Even be able to do something like that. I'm so sorry, but like, that's not a normal situation person that would do that. Like, ha ha ha, he, ha ha ha. Like, it's not fucking funny, dude. This isn't funny. It's not funny. These are real people. Like, I understand that you went through something, but like, it just makes me more weird about him. I'm like, this is so not right on so many levels. Please stop. Like, just stop.
I know. It's horrible. It turns your stomach. It really does. Well, here, I'm going to keep playing this because there's more stomach to be turned, and I'm sorry about that, but we have to know.
And went to Shanann's parents' house to sit down with them in their living room to talk to them about the process, what they wanted to see happen, the realities of death penalty litigation in Colorado. And that's just not something you could have a conversation over the phone about. Ultimately, the outcome of that was a split. I mean, one parent wanted the death penalty. The other, Shanann's father, wanted us to make sure that this Senate never.
Ultimately, that's not something you can have a conversation about over the phone when you want to manipulate the family and actually stay in their house for 3 days to do so. Right?
He's a little manipulator, fucking liar.
Absolutely. What he just said right there
what
about
he did to people, that should be charged under duress. You do not have to sign anything under duress. I think that the Ruseks were under duress when they signed whatever the fuck they did. I think that it's a loophole. I do not think this shit is fair. I do not like it. I think that
and he intentionally put them under duress.
Yes, exactly.
Knowing that it would work.
You did that. You did that to people somebody was murdered. That's the worst, callous, gross act that you could possibly do. And then you're going to go here and act like you're a fucking hero on your wife's podcast. It's just so gross. It's so gross. I'm like, no, you need to own up to the shit, and you need to understand that these people, let's redo this. Let them redo it. Let them have their thoughts. I don't think that they would do it anyway because they're so,
they're gracious.
like they're mourning.
Yeah.
You can't take that away. You cannot take the amount of mourning that you would possibly experience. And that is so sad.
Yeah.
But it's not okay. That
it's not. Now, I just want to point out here that what he says about that too is, let me just listen to it again. Now, he gets it backwards from what he told before. And in one of my videos, I play a clip comparing the soundbite to what he said before. What he said before was, it was Sandy Rusick who convinced them to not have the death penalty. But listen to what he says here. He flip-flops it. He doesn't even know.
Would never fucking say that.
Yeah, well, this is what he says here, you know.
Thing for Shanann's family. And so Steve Wren, my chief deputy, and I flew to North Carolina and went to Shanann's parents' house to sit down with them in their living room to talk to them about the process, what they wanted to see happen, the realities of death penalty litigation in Colorado. And that's just not something you could have a conversation over the phone about. Ultimately, the outcome of that was a split. I mean, one parent wanted the death penalty. The other, Shanann's father, wanted us to make sure that this defendant never saw the light of day. And ultimately, he did.
Which is exactly the polar opposite of what he said in his press conference moments after the sentencing. So, you know what? Fucking have enough respect for the victims and their family members. District Attorney Rourke, to get it right. And just one time you were lying, District Attorney Rourke.
Oh,
and you
well,
just
I guess District Rourke is too busy fucking his new wife, victim.
Apparently. And her podcast.
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring it down like that, but like, bitch, shut the fuck up. I'm so irritated. Like, you're really doing that? You're really doing that? Okay. And your wife, she's just so oozy bluesy about you. Are you okay?
And so
Are
disrespectful.
you okay? Because you are not a good guy.
Yeah, I know.
Figure it out.
All right, let me keep playing this here. Let me keep playing this here so everyone else can get enraged, because I don't know if a lot of people have heard this. So I know I agree with you,
to
girl.
everything we charged him with in exchange for not seeking the death penalty. A decision that, in hindsight, I'm very comfortable with, because about 6 months later, the legislature eliminated the death penalty from the state of Colorado, and our governor commuted the sentences of those on death row to life without parole. And so we were able to obtain that swift and certain sentence for her family without having to go through protracted litigation, only to have a governor come in unilaterally and say, never mind, we're going to eliminate the death penalty. But you want me to talk about the part that really bothers me, and so I will.
So it's always just interesting. And I think that this is probably true for anyone listening. When you have people telling a story like this, that they have firsthand experience, they're telling you one thing, and I'm sitting here hearing your words, but going through all the memories that I have of either you coming home as soon as he confessed and tears in your eyes.
Are you okay?
Saying he did it.
I know.
To all the other things that were happening behind the scenes that people never see because they're not on a headline. And, you know, it took us a while to get here, but that's what we think is important for you to talk about.
This is the case that caused me to realize that secondary or vicarious trauma in prosecutors is a real thing. And something that we have to talk about and we have to address. And we can't just say, go back to work and everything will be okay. One night while we were working through this case, I had brought my laptop home like I always do. And I remember looking at you saying, if I'm going to make a decision about whether or not to subject someone to the ultimate penalty, I've got to look at everything. And I had intentionally not looked at crime scene photos. I wasn't there. I made the choice not to go down there when they recovered the remains. I hadn't looked at them.
What made you decide not to do that?
Guys, wait, stop talking for a minute or mute, please. Just
at that time.
I think without recognizing it, I think that there was the recognition that I couldn't or I shouldn't for my own well-being.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of it was respect for those victims. They didn't need onlookers there that didn't need to be there. But I think that part of it simply was, I don't need to see that. I know what I've seen enough deceased people in my life. I didn't need to see that. I didn't need to see children.
Wait,
Yeah,
guys,
tell
hold
us
your
more
comments
about why you felt that
I
you
think he
didn't
did
need to see that.
Sure. I think,
Didn't need to see that.
well, I'll be candid.
Yeah, because you found out that you really didn't need to see that, right?
Oh yeah, I found out the hard way. Bella and Celeste were, like I said, 3 and 4-year-old little girls with very long, glowing blonde hair who liked to run around the living room, dance, sing, and do cartwheels. We knew that because we had some social media posts that Shanann had put on her
Hold for a
Facebook
minute.
page or
I know.
Instagram,
Hold
one
for a minute.
of them. And so I watched those, and I saw those little girls,
Like,
and
messages right now.
my own daughter at the time was about that same age, long blonde hair, doing cartwheels at my living room, despite the fact she knows that's a family rule not to. And there was an immediate connection that I felt with those little girls because of my daughter. I couldn't go watch them be extricated from a oil tank, soaked in oil, not knowing at that point in time whether they were alive or dead when they were put in that tank.
He could not.
The hole
Wait a minute.
at the top of the tank that those little girls were put
Okay,
in.
all right, wait, guys, but please don't talk over when the podcast is going, because it creates a lot of like audio disruption. But I know, go ahead, comment, go for it. I know it's horrible. Go ahead, girls. Panel. Karen, Sherry.
What, honey?
I'm here.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I just want you guys to comment. Go ahead. I just, when it was playing, because I paused it now so you guys can comment, so we can read chat.
The whole big thing.
I know, it's horrible.
I
Let's see. Victoria says, I know, long flowing hair. I mean, listen, okay, if there's one thing that we know about the Watts girls, especially Bella and even Cece, I mean, there's, the whole issue with the hair and stuff, I don't want to go into it. We're not going to talk about that, but there are pictures and videos. Well, not so much videos, but pictures that I haven't shown on this channel, and I'm not going to because I know how it affects people. But listen, if one thing we know about those girls, they do not have long flowing blonde hair. Okay, they have hair that's coming out all over the place. Both of them do actually. So and also cartwheels. We see them with their long blowing blonde hair doing cartwheels. Both of these girls they weren't very like active like that. I don't think they could have hopped over a toad, let alone do a cartwheel. Like his characterization of them is just so incorrect. It comes off as so disrespectful.
It's not disrespectful. What I think it is literally a narcissistic kind of like cold fucking place. I do not trust him. I don't trust him and his wife's situation. Well, I hope they're happy, but it's very fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's very strange. I don't think it's normal to treat people like that. I just don't. I think you have to treat people like they're human beings. They have emotions, they have feelings, they have things and thoughts and things that you're going through, and that's what you talk about when you're in a relationship. So why are you being fucking weird as fuck?
I know. And also and I know I'm guilty of it too. The moderators are freaking out because we're dropping so many F-bombs. We're going to just try not to, just because YouTube, this, YouTube likes to come after me. So all of us will be better about that. I'm sorry, moderators.
I will be better.
Okay. Sorry. We apologize.
Bombs, especially on my first time up.
No, I get it. And I understand like the emotion. And some people, I'm sorry, I thought I pinned the comment, but I didn't. But just talking about, here's a point that I think is important too. Now, listen, this podcast is titled Prosecutorial Vicarious Trauma with the Honorable Michael J. Rourke. And now, not to say, I'm sure, listen, there is vicarious trauma doing to just knowing about this case. But I mean, to seeing the actual crime scene photos, and that is horrible too. But
it's just so fake.
But he's making this big stink about how he didn't.
It's all about him. It's all about him. It's all about
making this big deal about.
It's all about him. It's all about him. That's a fucking problem.
It is, but
his wife who's making all sorts of fucking goddamn excuses. What it seems, like. Like, oh, he's so great. This and that and the blah 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 blah. She's making all sorts of fucking freaking excuses. Yeah. But like, he is making all the excuses to even just be a decent human being. I'm sorry, but like, if you actually gave a shit about this, and if you ever fucking cared about
Wait,
this.
wait, wait. We have to watch our language. Everyone in chat is freaking out. I'm sorry, but I know it's hard. I know. Go ahead.
Sorry.
It's okay.
If you actually gave a crap about this,
good girl.
I know, but if you did, wouldn't you present yourself a little bit better? Like, wouldn't you care just enough? Like, I just don't understand. I just don't think it's valid. I just think that the guy is a creep. I think it's a creep situation. I do not like the dude. I don't like it. I don't like it.
So let me just make this one point about not going to CERVI 319. And I'm sorry for the people that don't like the swearing. We're fixing it, guys. I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful to you guys. This whole prosecutorial vicarious trauma. But then he goes on to talk about, and I wasn't even sure this was the case. I thought it was, but when he spoke about it in this podcast, was the first time I actually heard him say that he didn't even go to CERVI 319. Okay, so that's fine. So he didn't, but you know what? Most prosecutors would have, and a few people in chat rightfully commented about, our hearts go out to those first responders and what they actually went through. And I mean,
what they had to go through.
What they had to go through. So, and then for the wife to make this podcast, prosecutorial vicarious trauma. I'm sorry, honey, the trauma your prosecutor experienced is nothing compared to what the family's experience, what the victim's experience, what those first responders experience. It seems so entitled and gross.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, I just don't feel like this is, it's inappropriate. It's in such bad taste. And I feel like it's so sad that somebody wouldn't understand at their point of their life to understand the fact that it is in such bad taste. I couldn't even imagine myself. I would never do that to another human.
It's incredibly self-involved, just like you said.
I could never fucking do that. I could never even imagine myself doing that to somebody else.
Yeah, totally.
Very
let's hear from Sherry for a minute there. She's been so patient. Go ahead, Sherry.
But the more that you hear these things from these people, the more you have to understand that they are not the same type of people that we are. Like, they literally are, like, I mean, she's making excuses. I don't care. I don't fucking give a fuck at this
point. Language.
Sorry.
It's okay. Here, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. You finish, then we'll let Sherry go.
A lot of these people, they had to quit or they had to retire of this case of what they saw.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that is vicarious. Well, that is just trauma. Yeah.
And they had to go to therapy.
Yeah. And I mean, and Dave Baumhover, according to what he said, had to resign from his career due to the PTSD he experienced. I mean, that is a man who is honorable. When they had found and excavated from the earth Shanann's remains, and he knew that those girls were in those tanks, he parked his car there and he stayed there by himself at CERVI 319 all night long. So those little girls would not be in those crude oil tanks alone. That is an honorable man.
That's so sad. And then so messed up. He was so messed up about it.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, can you take me off the panel?
I can. Yes, I can, honey. And well, thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate you, Sherry. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear from you. And I know everyone else is.
Yes. I'm going to go back in the chat and moderate here.
Okay, sweet pea. Thank you so much. I'll press remove now. Okay.
Right, honey. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. I don't even know if we should listen to any more of this, or, what? I think we'll save it for another day because I'm going on. I was going to be like, it's like, only 10 more minutes. But then we started on this and, but we'll listen. Next live stream, when we talk about the Watts, we will focus on this and I will put together some sound bites. So I'm not just playing it straight from the pod stream again, as Edward and other people are pointing it out, putting me at more risk for a strike by the honorable district attorney, vicariously prosecutorial traumatized or whatever. And we will do that. I promise we will do that again because there's so much more to listen to, but it is getting really late and I have to bake a cake with my son. It's almost like 1 a.m. I promised we would do it after my live stream. So but Karen, it's so nice to talk to you and thank you for coming up. I'm always so happy to see your comments and whatnot. And I know this is just such freaking infuriating situation. And especially, you know, for some people, and in this very like significant way, that the district attorney's part, I mean, it is a cornerstone of why this is so unacceptable.
It really is. And thank you for having me. I'm sorry that I get a little bitchy and I get a
You're
little.
good. It's okay. It's totally okay. The moderators are just worried about the channel, but it's all good.
Like, I get that way because I want people to have justice. I want this to work itself out.
I do too. And we are hopefully going to help that process along. So more to come on that, my girl, more to come on that. Thank you so much for coming on.
Okay.
All right. Good night, sweetheart.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. So no, it's okay though. Listen, it's like, I get it, man. It is hard. Like, I get it. I have to, just as we're talking about certain aspects of this case, not always, but I have to, you know, what I want to say, I have to like really quick, like pull it back, rethink it. And, you know, and if you're not used to that because you're not used to reacting to things like live on like a live stream, like I totally get it. So it's all good. Oh, logo. My gosh. Okay. Yeah. Just 1 second. Okay. Here, wait. I will play just another little bit of this because I'm going to have to send that to myself to put it up because I want to show you Honey Bun's logo. Gosh, Honey Bun, I'm so sorry. I didn't thank you for reminding me. I really do love it.
Was 8 inches in diameter. Stop and think about was about that same him. And I said, I can't do this. That's when vicarious trauma became a real thing.
I'll never forget. I was sitting cross-legged on the floor. So we have a coffee table and I was working on something on the computer and I knew that that's what he was doing. So it's like our computers the backs of them are facing each other. And I saw his face just, I still have a hard time recalling that in anything than less than perfect detail because it was just watching every fiber shift in you and it became part of you and who you are and what you do, and it doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it hasn't gone away to this day.
Mm-mm. But of course, that's not what you were going to talk about when you have a press conference or when people are doing, you know, podcasts on it or whatever.
Right, because it's not appropriate because he's a professional who's already failing at his job, wifey.
But that's what I remember.
You'll remember this part too, and this is the part that has never happened before. After the defendant pled guilty, we had set for a sentencing hearing because I knew that her family wanted to be present. And I wanted to make sure that we were being articulate, respectful, complete.
Yeah, whatever.
Because
this is such BS. I'm not going to say the bad words, but let me just go forward a little more and then I'm getting her logo.
Our children were similar age.
If, you know, you could tell me what the next step of the process is. I jokingly said at the beginning of this part of it, you know, I can't give you legal advice, and we can't. Prosecutors can't give legal advice, but we can answer questions about. Well, one of the things that we did, and I think we learned that this was beneficial, particularly in your case, after a court hearing, advocates is start to develop some kind of I've been accused of accepting bribes from her.
But at the end of the day, he decided to pull the trigger metaphorically, and it's no one's fault but
having an affair with somebody that he had met at work. And Records Act, FOIA requests in Colorado, it's called the Colorado Open Records Act, was crushing. I have an office of 80 employees, and I bet if we would have done this any other way, all 80 of my employees would have been responding to nothing but these requests. So we had to make the choice of making the files that we would release public available on our website, office website, through a program called ShareFile, where people could simply request it, they'd get the link, and they could download and they could sit at home and read. The number of people that have done that is stunning. We are talking multiple tens of thousands of downloads worldwide of this horrific crime that I have described.
I wish I could say that's surprising, but I think one of the things that compels people with crimes like this, and I think true crime in general, is they see a crime like this and they go, how on earth does someone do something so heinous? And I think a large percentage of the population that consumes true crime, they consume it because they're trying to understand. But I think that the thing to remember is there is no excuse. There is no, how did someone get this way? You're not going to read this file and do anything other.
Some of us follow true crime and we actually care about the outcome of justice for, once again, sweetheart, which your husband failed to achieve. And That really is only his job requirement and goal. So I would just like to add that to the conversation.
Rather than vicariously traumatize yourself, basically. But people want to try to understand.
I agree with that in part. I also have seen, from my perspective, the number of people who have wanted to play junior detectives.
Yeah, I think that's the other side of true crime as well. Yeah.
They want to play junior detective. They want to second guess charging decisions. They want to second guess whether or not the offender is truly guilty. They want to second guess the sentencing determination that I had to make. And in this one, in my description earlier, I didn't share this piece, but at the same time, we knew through the course of our investigation.
No, listen, you know what? I'm going to have to end it here because I'm getting too worked up too. We don't want to second guess anything. We don't want to second guess your charging decisions. We don't want to second guess the guilt of anyone. We don't want to second guess if anyone else out there is guilty. And you know what? If the prosecutor in this case did his job and allowed the investigation to happen as it should in the investigative process to take form without interference as it should have, then there would have been no reason to second guess those things, because when justice is obtained, questions are not had. So to put this back on the public the way that he is just absolutely disgraceful. So honey bun, I'm having a hard time getting this to my email right now, the logo. So what I wanted to do, and I will do it for the next time, I want to actually like put it into the stream, because there's a way that you can like put a logo in here so it'll show throughout the entire live stream. So I promise you, I'm going to get that ready to do during the next live stream, because that's like kind of how I wanted to showcase it rather than just like flashing it. I actually wanted to like use it and like just have, because I know that people will notice it and comment on it and love it. So I hope that that's okay, my girl. So, okay. So moderators, thank you so much. And I'm sorry. I know you guys were like, calm it down, Kelly. I'm sorry. You guys are amazing. I appreciate all of you. And if anybody is upset about the cursing, I am very sorry. But again, I do hope you understand. It's just that this just causes such high emotions, and we all understand why, you know, but most of all, thank you for being here. And thank you, Sherry, for coming up and for everything. And thank you, Karen G, for coming up and sharing your thoughts. I always love hearing from you, as I said, and she's just been with this channel for such a long time. It was wonderful to hear from her. So thank you, subscribers, members, people just checking us out. Please click like and subscribe. And I just want you to know, as always, I appreciate all of you, and you're awesome just the way you are. And remember, life is hard. So please be kind to one another, and please be good to yourself, because you absolutely deserve it. Yeah, Cheryl Davenport says he underestimated how many, and he still does, how many people want justice for the victims. That's right. Yeah. Junior detectives. Yeah. Amanda K says, I feel like he was trying to suggest people who do true crime are either messed up in the head or think they're junior detectives and want to solve the case even though it's already closed. Right. And that's not it. Yeah. I mean, he just misses the point in every direction. Like, you know, Karen G said, like, read the audience, man, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Yeah. Love you guys, too. Thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Deidre Gray. You got a membership. Yeah. So, all right, guys, I'm going to end it here because I always have such a hard time saying goodbye to you, but I'll be doing a live stream very soon. I should have some content coming out tomorrow, both members only, just due to the nature of it. It's just safer for me to do that. It is on the Watts case. And, you know, it's not members only. So be looking for that tomorrow. And thank you guys so much. Appreciate y'all. Oh, yeah. And check out the documentary on Netflix on The Night Stalker. It's just so good. And pay attention to Gil, the investigator, because he's a real man.